by providing clear rules of the road helps produce a functioning marketplace and economic prosperity. And last, in conclusion, Congress should not be accepting claims of regulatory harms at face value and should not make radical changes to the regulatory system which has safeguarded the public at a reasonable cost. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman. I'll start with my questions. Mr. Kovacs, do the amount of current regulations impede the ability of businesses to hire new workers to create jobs?
Well, I think
we just saw that the unemployment rate has gotten higher.
Within our testimony, we have a discussion of what we call Project No Project, which is what we tried.
What we do in this committee is usually ask for a yes or no if possible. Can you say yes?
Yes.
Okay. Is that some part of the problem with the current high rate of unemployment, which is approaching 9.1%, is that, in your feeling, it's due to regulation? I know we had Mr. Waxman saying that he believes in regulation and so forth, but in your opinion, it contributed to the unemployment?
I am not. The answer is I am not an economist, but yes, but look at our Project No Project study, because I think that gives you the kind of answers you need.
So that study would give more definitized information?
Yes.
Okay. And the name of that study again is?
It's Project No Project.
Okay. I think both you indicated, and I think the third gentleman did too, this idea of these independent agencies. And I think all of us are concerned. Don't independent agencies that issue regulations also contribute significantly to the total burden on the economy, the independent? Isn't that true?
Yes.
I'll ask each of you, Mr. Kovac.
Yes.
And Mr. Gattuso.
Yes.
Mr. Golston, is that true, that the regulations from the independent agency would contribute to the burden on the economy?
They contribute regulations, certainly.
You don't think they affect the... Okay, all right. Were you surprised that of the 30 preliminary draft plans released by the White House on May 26, there were none from the independent regulatory agency under this committee's jurisdiction, such as the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission?
No, I was not surprised.
Yeah.
I was surprised there was not at least one or two.
And Mr. Golston?
I'm not sure I had an opinion on that. There is the constitutional issue about whether they can be required to do it. There's no reason that they couldn't obviously choose to submit plans.
Do you think there's anything more that OIRA could have done to encourage independent regulatory agency to sort of voluntarily submit retrospective analyses of their existing rules and as set out in the President's executive order? I'll start with you, Mr. Kovacs.
No, the President suggested it, and they decided not to do it.
Yeah, Mr. Gattuso?
As I said in my testimony, I think the President can make clear when his request is very serious and when it's for show. I think he could have done more.
Mr. Golston?
I have no expertise on that, but I imagine they could have done more.
I think, Mr. Gattuso, you'd indicate it's too soon to breathe early a sigh of relief with the President Obama's January 2011 Wall Street Journal op-ed, where he termed, quote, rules have gotten out of balance, placing unreasonable burdens on businesses, burdens that have had a chilling effect on the growth and jobs. Do you think after that particular op-ed that in the Executive Order 13653, we're any closer to achieving what Mr. Sunstein has cited as his aim of nurturing, quote, a consistent culture of retrospective review and analysis throughout the executive branch?
I think we're closer, but we're dealing with a few micromillimeters, perhaps, of moving forward.
Micromillimeters, okay. Mr. Kovacs, do you think that Congress should mandate a law that all agencies should conduct periodic retrospective reviews?
I think you already had in 1980 with the Regulatory Flexibility Act, Section 610.
So it's not being implemented? Is that the problem?
That's correct.
But you would agree that we should, that the agency should have a retrospective mandate to look at the regulatory environment in their department. And you agree also?
Definitely.
And Mr. Golston, do you agree?
There's no harm in retrospective reviews if they don't become the whole sum and substance of what agencies are doing. Many statutes require regulations to be updated periodically, which in effect means that the previous reg is being looked
Okay.
at.
You agree, Mr. Kovacs, as I understand your testimony, you believe there are two distinct categories of regulations, and that the primary focus of oversight by Congress and the administration should be those regulations that are economically significant. In your view, what would be the most effective way to address this?
There are several ways. One is that they have a higher standard of review within the courts. For example, when a court reviews a regulation, they treat their review the same as if it's greenhouse gases or if it's training for an employee. And what needs to occur, because when the courts gave deference to the agencies, they literally tipped the balance in favor of the agencies and against Congress. And the way to address that would be to require the agency on those major rules to go through a higher standard of review, which would be a formal on-the-record hearing, or something like OSHA has, which is a hybrid hearing, and then to have the court review it under the substantial evidence test.
My time's over. It's just remarkable that, as you pointed out, the Regulatory Flexibility Act mandates that these agencies do it, and no one's doing it. And so, I mean, it's really disturbing to think that we've mandated Congress, and yet none of these agencies are complying.
Well, the first testimony I ever gave 13 years ago was on that issue. And
13 years ago. All right, my time has expired. Gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kovacs, I agree. Regulatory reform works at a maddeningly slow rate, and I also agree with your written and verbal testimony. It seems to be a bipartisan problem. It seems to happen under Republican and Democratic administrations. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
So following up on the chairman's question, here's the problem sometimes with yes or no answers. So here's a question for a yes or no answer. Sorry to pick on you. Is today's jobless number that came out, which we're all upset about, caused primarily by overregulation, yes or no?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not an economist.
Right, okay, thanks. Let me ask you, you said we should really target these economically significant regulations, which have increased since 2005, again, on a bipartisan basis. Those are regulations that cost $100 million or more, is that right?
It's a broader group than that, but yeah,
okay.
The administrator, it also includes novel.
I mean, that's a term of art.
Right.
And I can't disagree with that. I think that's probably a good idea, but I would also say that the cumulative effect of other regulations, smaller regulations, can be, even though it's not one regulation, if a small business has to comply with a number of regulations, that for them might add up to a heavy burden. So we shouldn't ignore the smaller regulations while we're focusing on these economically significant regulations, correct?
That's correct. And that's why I was saying that when the standard of review and how the agency approaches it is very important.
Right, gotcha.
And so that's one of the ways you might be able to.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent suggestion. One of my questions is because there's been different legislation proposed, and one of the things you and Mr. Gattuso also said that you supported was the idea of having both houses of Congress to approve any regulation that has this impact that's an economically significant regulation, correct?
That's correct.
That's
correct. One of the approaches.
And in your written testimony, you said that there were about 180 regulations like that were issued in 2008, which was the last year of the Bush administration. Is that correct?
They're the government numbers, yes.
Okay, so that, yeah, your answer is yes. Okay. Now, here's what I'm concerned about. In 2008, that same year, we were in session 118 days, but there were 180 such regulations. And I would assume it is not your view that every economically significant regulation should be repealed, right? Some of them are useful, right?
No, we're not. I'm not here today saying you should repeal anything. What I'm saying,
right? What you're saying, but what you're saying is there should be a higher standard of scrutiny, which I agree with. My concern is if you require all of those things to come to Congress, and Congress is only in session a few days a year, we might not get to reviewing all of those regulations. Do you understand
Well,
that?
there's nothing being proposed that would go retro.
Well, no, let's say there's a new regulation that the Obama administration is proposing, and it's an economically significant regulation. So it would come to Congress for review. If Congress did not review that regulation, what would happen is it would be null. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Under that legislation.
Well,
So
no,
that
it wouldn't be null.
I don't have much time left. So that might affect a regulation that was a bad regulation or a good regulation, right? It's a great big mallet that comes down and kills that regulation.
No, it puts Congress in charge of the legislative.
Well, I hear what you're saying. Mr. Goldston, I want to just ask you a couple of quick questions about the Clean Air Act. Because recently Mr. Waxman asked the EPA to do a report on the Clean Air Act, and what the report said was that the act created American jobs, and in fact that it prevented 18 million child respiratory illnesses, 850,000 asthma attacks, 674,000 cases of chronic bronchitis, and 205,000 premature deaths. And also there was monetary value of $2 trillion by 2020. Mr. Goldston, I'm wondering if you can tell me whether you agree with these results of this study that was done.
Most studies that have looked at the job and health impacts of regulations show net benefits of the health benefits and show no
of the Clean
problem,
Air Act?
Of the Clean Air Act in particular.
Now, to comply with updated pollution standards, businesses must design, manufacture, install, and operate pollution-reducing technologies. And so a lot of people argue that the Clean Air Act has created hundreds of thousands of domestic jobs in the field of environmental technologies and generated about $300 billion in annual revenues and supported 1.7 million jobs. So my question to you is, do you think that federal regulations like these can support economic growth and foster job creation?
Yes, and again, most studies have found a neutral to net benefit of jobs overall, and that's on the whole, so yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much,
Gentleman,
Mr. Chairman.
Ladies' time has expired. The gentleman from California, Mr. Bilbray, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. David, let me go through a scenario that I'll call the good, bad, and the ugly. And you know my background in California. So let's use California as sort of the test platform for a national strategy on regulatory oversight, especially environmental stuff. The Air Resources Board, wouldn't you admit, one of the most successful environmental agencies ever implemented, has reduced pollution by, the air in California is twice as clean as it was when the ARB started off. And the population is twice as much. Are you aware that the mandate to those of us that were at the ARB and there now, there's a mandate that cost effectiveness must be considered before passing any reg, right?
I'd certainly take your word for that.
And it obviously has not been a major barrier to the protection of the public health or the implementation of that environmental strategy.
Right.
The success speaks for itself. In fact, let me just tell you, somebody who worked 6 years with that program, I actually 16 totally between 10 years at Air District and 6 years on the board. It actually helped us. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I get upset about is I find people here freak out about that as if it's anti-environmental, where I found that one of the great tools, even for myself, I got held up by that and stopped from doing implementing a regulation that I thought was good because we had to look at that. Don't you think that both Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else at Washington could learn something by looking at that cost-effective mandate and the way ARB has handled it as being something that both sides should be able to agree at looking at making that, trying to learn from that and integrating it into our federal program?
So, I mean, everybody obviously should look at the range of experiences. I think the Federal Clean Air Act has been effective as well, and CARB obviously is operating under its general auspices. The way the
but would you agree? Wait a minute. When you say that, and I'll come back on you and say, was there another agency that's implemented the Clean Air Act that's had as much reduction as CARB?
Not that I'm aware of, but
I'm aware of either.
But the point is, under some portions of the Clean Air Act, the standard that is selected is based on health, but then the decision on how to implement it, which is what you're talking about, economics are allowed to take into account, and there are other parts of the Clean Air Act where economics are allowed to be part of the
you
process.
admit that the EPA and the federal government has recognized the leadership of CARB to the point to where we've had carve-outs, we've had, and not just the federal government, but other states have adopted our standards as being the gold standard for clean air, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Now let's talk about the ugly. AB 32, an environmental strategy, was put in through our legislation, but CEQA still applies to our implementation of our greenhouse stuff. Now, that was created a situation to where now my scientists who have developed alternatives to fossil fuels using California financing and research is forced to leave the state to go to production. They're actually leaving and doing their production in New Mexico for a good reason. Because under the regulations of CEQA, it will take 10 years plus to go into production of algae, where in New Mexico it is 9 months minus. Big difference. And this is, I would just say, the bad side of it, is showing that, and now the legislature said they cared enough about the environment to put in AB 32, but they didn't care enough to exempt it from environmental regulations that would stop the implementation. And let me just point out, this is the same legislature that exempted a football stadium and industry from CEQA. So it's not like, you know, absurd. Doesn't this tell us something that when we go to implementation or we pick our goals, we've got to do what it takes to make implementation practical?
I don't know the specific case you're talking about. As a general rule, certainly, I must say, as a New Yorker, it doesn't hurt me to hear tales of the oddness of the California state legislature. But I don't know the specific case.
Well, I think it's the mindset. The problem is the fact that not understanding that the great goals, the great standards are easy for legislators to do, but it's tough for them to take the hit on the fact that regulatory obstructionism is a major barrier to innovative environmental and economic growth. I guess the other issue that I'd bring up is a good example of, and you were aware of it because you were working on this, we're required to go to secondary sewage across with activated sludge. When you have the Scripps oceanographers telling us that it's going to not only hurt the environment, but when we do the environmental assessment, implementing the federal law on secondary in certain instances hurts the environment to the point to where Sierra Club and the Environmental Health Department of the County of San Diego sued the federal government to stop it. Don't you think we really need to go back and start looking at that outcome-based, that cost-benefit, and how it really affects real world rather than just what it was meant to do?
So again, I don't know the specific case, but the notion of judging by outcome, I think, makes a lot of sense, yes.
Thank you.
I thank the gentleman, and the gentleman from Virginia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Goldston, I believe, in very mildly put, that rules have gotten out of balance, placing unreasonable burdens on business, burdens that have a chilling effect on growth and jobs. My understanding of your testimony is you disagree with that?
I would say as a broad conclusion, I disagree. That doesn't mean there are no rules that could be changed.
And so that I'm being fair with you, I will tell you that that actually is a line that I agree with. Probably my version would be put on steroids, but that's a line out of President Obama's January 2011 Wall Street Journal op-ed piece. So it's not just me, it's also the President that thinks that we need to do something about this, and that's why I was very pleased that Mr. Sunstein spent so much time with us, because it's probably one of the few things I might agree with the President's administration on, but I believe this is an area where we can all come together and recognize that, you know, it does have, these regulations do have an effect on jobs, and my district in particular, which is the 9th District of Virginia, which is a large district, some would call it rural, others might not. It's heavily dependent on manufacturing and mining. We do have a university or two in the mix, but it's heavily dependent on that, and we're seeing the effects of these regulations. You indicated in your comments that you felt like that if we started, rolling back some regulations, it might make things less predictable. And I'm just wondering if you had the opportunity to hear the testimony in front of one of the committees where Notre Dame came in and testified that in 2004 they attempted to comply with what they believed the EPA regulations were going to be in regard to boilers. And of course, the EPA has backed off of its boiler MAC regulations, but they were very concerned about it because they spent millions of dollars to comply with what they thought the EPA wanted, only to find out a few years later that that wasn't good enough and that they weren't going to be able to qualify as a valid boiler if the new regulations had come into effect. And these are folks who are really trying, and I just can't agree with you. I believe that we need to do more to make things predictable. And Mr. Kovacs, if I might ask you, on page 12 of your prepared statement, you've got a copy. I believe I've seen this or a similar chart before of all the new regulations coming into effect at that time. And again, Boiler MAC is now, if not, it's on the back burner, if not off the stove completely. But you can look at all those colors from over there and see if a member of your organization, doesn't matter which agency, whether it's EPA or OSHA, sees that much coming at them, do you think that they think that's predictability in regulation?
Well, it's clearly not predictability.
That's why I asked it.
Whatever is going to change, I think that I'd just like to make a point without being stuck to the yes or no, and that is we've been talking about jobs all day, and if jobs are really being created by all of these rules, then the Environmental Protection Agency should be implementing the continuing jobs analysis that it's got under 321 and all the other rules. I mean, there are mechanisms. If you go through everything that Congress has done for the last 30 years, you have least restrictive alternatives. It's never applied. You have unfunded mandates. Anytime it's over $100 million, there are an entire list of issues to be done. You have within each of the environmental statutes some form of this continuing jobs analysis. We have it there. It's not being done. And so there are ways to bring resolution to this issue, but going back to your question is, yes, that is an enormous amount of regulatory uncertainty, but if you look going forward between this healthcare, which I'm not an expert on, or financial services, we went from the 137 to the 224. That chart's going to go this way.
And so if I understand your answer in general and your other comments as well, what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing you say is that if, as some would like to think, that regulations actually create jobs, then they should embrace congressional requests that they establish what jobs they are creating and what the impact is on jobs, because if these regulations are so good for jobs, a requirement to detail the jobs effect of a regulation would come out that these regulations are actually helping everybody. And so the EPA and the administration and all the others ought to actually get behind the TRAIN Act and other acts that call for more data that show that these regulations are in fact creating jobs, if that is true. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Absolutely. That is what they should do. Congress has already mandated it in the other statutes, but I would even go one step further.
Yes, sir.
EPA uses proprietary models. It doesn't use the public models as required under the Data Quality Act. It should begin releasing all of its models so we can see the assumptions. It should go in and begin applying the Data Quality Act, which the administrator said gave a hint to that it is a good way of testing the statistics, the data, the information. The agencies have written, since Congress passed that in 2000, the agencies have literally written that out. And the only thing it says is that the agencies are to open up their data, to use the most up-to-date data, to put that data in the record, and to allow that data to be peer-reviewed and tested within the system. That hasn't occurred since the law has passed.
Thank you, sir. I see my time is up, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. We're ready to close. I think one thing I'm getting out of this panel is that the frustration that routinely the federal agencies ignore the requirements contained in such laws as Mr. Kovacs mentioned, the Regulatory Flexibility Act, the Information Quality Act, and the unfunded Mandates Reform Act. I mean, that's a concern, I think, for a member, either party, bipartisan issue, to think that they routinely ignore that. And, you know, we really have a responsibility to make them comply. And so with that, I thank...
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
if
sure.
I may.
Yes.
I just point out to the gentleman from Virginia, I completely agree that, that there should be some explanation by these agencies, the EPA and the other agencies, about, in fact, what the impact of these regulations should be on jobs. And that's, as Mr. Kovacs says, why most of the existing laws require that analysis. My concern about this RAINS Act, which the gentleman refers to, is it doesn't just say you shall submit to Congress how many jobs it creates. It submits these regulations to Congress for approval or disapproval, and if Congress just doesn't get around to doing it, then it fails. And it might be a useful regulation that we could all agree on. And that's the issue I've got. It goes much farther than just that jobs issue.
The
and
gentleman's
with that, I'll
recognized.
yield back, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
gentlemen, you want to comment on that?
Mr. Chairman, I would just say that the reference I made was actually to the TRAIN Act, which we had in subcommittee last week. I do support the RAINS Act, and your comments are valid, but my reference was actually to the TRAIN Act today.
Trains, reins, it's...
It's also,
All right. All right, I thank my colleagues, and with that, the subcommittee, we have 10 days to submit for the record any opening statements or any questions that we might further ask for you folks. So thank you, and the subcommittee's adjourned.
That was quick.
A lot of waiting.
Didn't see
Into the wind, there was no way that I even knew where Tufts University was or be able to get myself in the condition to go to Tufts University to work out. Those 3 days rainouts and things, my life started with a drink, a drug, from morning to night, and with those 3 days of rainouts, I was totally wasted. And when I got to the ballpark, I wasn't really together. And maybe it was better that, you know, in a sense that that's basically how I played every game of my baseball career, my major league career. What was really amazing to me, without any batting practice and with coming to the bat at that situation and taking the worst swing and then taking the great swing and hitting the ball out of the park, you know, God had even a plan for my life even then.
Bernie, it's our greatest game. You are a big part of it. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. It's been great listening to you guys, and thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, the game is now tied at 6-6. Up next, Denny Doyle discusses what really happened in the bottom of the ninth.
Tuesday Night Baseball, the home run, the comeback, the bad blood. Now the Red Sox and Yankees hit refresh on their epic rivalry. Then on Thursday, they'll go at it again. Red Sox, Yankees, Tuesday, 7 Eastern on MLB Network.
Well, I basically started noticing my hair loss a couple years ago, so I started using Rogaine foam.
Only Rogaine foam is shown to regrow hair in 85% of guys.
It just brought about a lot of confidence.
Try new unscented Rogaine foam. Learn more at Rogaine.com.
Have you tried one of these? It's so good. Man, I can't believe we haven't done this before. Oh, wow, look at that.
Bite.
Oh, shit. You're aging. Do the jingle. Do the jingle. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hey, guys. Do it again. Do it again. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. In my office.
State Farm.
I think we're good.
State Farm agents are there when you need them.
With DirecTV, you can start watching in one room, pause, and continue watching in any other room. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV.
Avocado.
Grab the green and get ready for the Green Lantern. Opening in theaters June 17th. Try the Subway turkey and bacon avocado, packed with a powerful avocado boost.
Yeah.
When it came to redesigning the Hyundai Accent, we didn't hold back on our best thinking. So we included everything we've learned about performance, safety, efficiency, style, technology, and everything else that makes the Accent. Hey, can you give me a minute here? I'm trying to talk. The 2012 Accent. Guys.
So the conversation turned until the sun went down, and many fantasies were there. On that day, keep feeling fascination.
In the top of the ninth, we're all tied up, and Joe Morgan 5 for 21 in the series, and he's 1 for 4 tonight. Hopped up, Yastrzemski makes the play. Petroselli, one-hand grab, 2 away. Tony is 1 for 4, struck out in the second, the fifth, single in the fourth. Off the handle, may be playable. Yastrzemski makes the play. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the bottom of the ninth. All tied. Cincinnati 6, Boston 6.
Okay, as Dick Drago set the Reds down 1-2-3 in the top of the ninth, he saw Yaz make a couple of catches at first base. Cecil Cooper made the last out in the bottom of the eighth after the pinch hit homer by Bernie Carbo. Then they double switched. Carbo stayed in the game, played left. Yaz moved from left to first base, replacing Cooper on the field. Now Denny Doyle joins us because he will be a key figure in the bottom of the ninth. And as we go back to the action, Dick Stockton is working it with Joe Garagiola.
It'll be Doyle, Yastrzemski, and Fisk in the bottom of the ninth.
Denny, you'd had a good series. What are you thinking here?
Well, I'm thinking one thing. Got to get on the base. That's for sure. Get a good pitch. And it's time to make something happen to come back.
All four. Johnny Bench wanted that one. A little bit of confusion, but it was ball four.
You weren't sure that was ball four, and Johnny was sure it was at the letters and should have been a strike.
Look at him. He ducks down. He looks like Goodell out there in the midfield. I mean, it's like, what are you doing?
Hey, it works.
Eddie Goodell is 5 foot, 4 foot, 3 foot 6 or something, and you're jumping down trying to get on base.
How did I make out? Actually, I don't know if it was Johnny's gripe or the umpire griping at Johnny that made the sound that I stopped, and I didn't want to show the umpire up, so I stopped to see what's going on back there.
How about this?
How about yes? He's got one sack bunt in the previous 8 years.
I've never seen him
like
bunt.
It right there.
I've never seen him bunt. He never even bunted at BP. You know, the two mandatory bunts? No, 2 more swings.
A definite shock when he tried to bunt.
I don't think it was a bad, though. I mean, I thought it was a situation where you had to get some runner in scoring position. He hadn't really pounded the ball or been anything. He got a key hit into left field a bit earlier, but I don't think it's too much to ask. I mean, you're trying to win a World Series game.
Well, Pete was still charging there on the 0-1 pitch, and Yaz tried to slap it past him.
Yeah, well, he'd never done that either in batting practice.
Right field, base hit. Griffey up with it. Doyle heads for third. He's there.
All right, so you guys have runners at the corners with nobody out, and a run wins the game.
I just love that swing. Yaz was not a low ball hitter. He was a high ball hitter for a left-handed hitter, which was very unusual.
That was Yaz's 9th hit of the series, and here's Sparky.
What's the conversation here, Johnny? First and third, nobody out.
Well, it's just a situation here where he's got to make the choice. I mean, he's already seen Raleigh overstriding. He didn't have a choice. He knew what he wanted to do with Fred being the guy that we were going to face. You got to walk the bases loaded. You're going to come up and put Carlton on and give put him in a situation where we get a force out. And at this time, it really didn't look good at all.
He wants to talk to the manager, Darrell Johnson, while Johnny Bench has a meeting as they wait for Will McEnany to come in. There goes Carlton Fisk to first. Yastrzemski goes to second.
So here's the second time that Fisk has been walked intentionally ahead of Lynn, but Freddie has a single and a homer tonight. Bases loaded, nobody out.
High fly ball, left field. Foster's got a shot. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Doyle is out. Foster to bench.
Wow. If you take it back and you take a look at the ball coming down, first of all, George Foster probably, I don't know, did he throw anybody out that year?
I don't think so, but he had 52 home runs. He didn't have to.
That's right. You got a good point there. Touche. However, he's right on the line, up against the fans, up against the wall, and he's one of the guys that Don came and said, hey, this guy, we're going to take advantage of it. But I wasn't sure that nobody out, bases loaded, was the time to do that. And so all I heard was the word go. And I heard it twice.
Not
and
don't
so I
go.
figured, no. What eventually was said, he quoted in the newspaper the next day, was that he said to me, "You can't go, don't go," and I heard the word that I wanted to hear. And when it boils down to it, I screwed it up because he was the man. He was the authority, and I counted on him for everything. And I just assumed that was it, and I was doing the right thing.
See, now, the way the story has been told through the years was that he was saying no, 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 and you heard go, go, go. But you're telling us something different now.
Well, I'm telling you what I know. I mean, I heard number one, but I also read number two. And I'm saying, well, you know what? It really doesn't matter. You're out. And this guy knocks me on my can, which he thought it hurt, it didn't. And then eventually, Fisk is going to be the hero of the century. I'm saying, wow. And I didn't get any of that.
You didn't get any of that. But you know, watching that replay again, I mean, George could have hit somebody's hand and throwing it in from the outfield. Really? I mean, that was a more difficult throw than I can remember. He did take a half step into the field to throw it, and maybe I've heard that maybe the line, the foul line, actually gave him something to throw down because he did not have the most accurate of arms. But in that situation, it wasn't too deep. He made a great throw under the circumstances, and you know, Denny. I thought Denny made the right move.
It's almost impossible to have a ball land foul between the chalk and the stands at Fenway Park. Sometimes in a situation like this, an outfielder will have the presence of mind to say, if I'm not going to be able to throw the guy out, I'll let it drop foul. A, you couldn't be sure it was foul, too close. B, it was shallow enough that he knew he had a shot at him.
You made a great point, too, about the throwing lane. If the ball is anywhere more towards the inside of the field, you might not be able to get back in time for the tag. If it's any more on the foul side, it probably hits the runner.
Exactly.
The ball went the only place it could have.
But John, I think, made the better play because the throw hopped towards first base. John went out and was agile enough to get it and then come back to get Denny. If he doesn't make that play, if he goes out and he flicks off his glove, the game's over. Yeah, it wasn't well hit. It was a lot of things, but John made a good play, and it's still bang, bang. Bang, bang.
Let me get him thinking about don't look for the fastball because I called for the slider. Now, we've been working on the signals for 8 months, okay? 8 months, we've got it down. And we're using a combination of 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, pumps after 2. So anytime you see 2 fingers go down, you count the number of signs I give after. So I 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. So I give him the slider. So I'm setting up, here comes the slider. And it's a fastball over here, inside. And Fred, I guess, looking for the fastball, made up his mind to go for it. Why wouldn't you if you get a pitch in the area? He pops it up down the left field line. And I don't think I would have caught the ball. If he hadn't swung at it, I think the game's over. And now
would have been a wild pitch.
Would have been a wild pitch. Because his slider was like this big, and I'm reaching to get on the outside edge, and it's over on the inside corner. And so now, after the play's over, I grab Will, and I called him everything in a book. I said, Will, I gave you the slider. Throw 1, 2, 3, 1, 3 for the slider. And he looked at me in his best left-handed reliever insanity. He said, well, sometimes those things work out, don't they? And Zach Davidson came out and said, what's going on? I said, you wouldn't understand it. It's a little too technical for you. But he was backing it up. And here we are in the 9th inning with the bases loaded, getting a double play off a pitch that I called that he threw wrong. And it was just a decision he made. So, I mean, how many things went right? But we wouldn't be here if all of this hadn't happened. We wouldn't be the #1 game.
McInerney stayed in, got Petrocelli to ground out. That sent the game to extra innings. What was it like in the dugout when you arrived?
I'm trying to forget that, but I know it was very silent. There wasn't too much going on in there except people were taking deep breaths and turning around and walking away, which I don't blame them.
I felt terrible. I felt terrible. You know, I felt like I lost the game for the club. I mean, I have a chance to drive in and run, and I should have. On that pitch there, I should have been able to drive that ball off the wall, and had it been June, I would have. But I was just a little tardy.
I never even thought about that. I mean, everybody wants to say about Denny's running, but I guess, you know, a situation where if you're a hitter and a power hitter and an RBI person, you're standing up there, and I don't know that I ever heard you even...
Well, Denny took the brunt of it, but it was really, if I hit the ball 10 feet further, he scores. You know, so there's lots of things that happen on that particular play.
Hey. Denny, did you revisit that play with Don Zimmer after the inning or in a happier moment after the game?
No, no way.
That wasn't the way Zim was.
No, he wasn't that way, and I wasn't that way either. I mean, the idea was you did your job, he did his job, I tried to do mine, let's go on tomorrow.
So the Reds escape a bases loaded, nobody out jam, and that sends the game to extra innings.
We go to the top of the 10th. 6'6" Drago is the pitcher. He'll be facing Foster, Concepcion, and Geronimo.
So here's Foster, who made the throw that resulted in the double play. Now he's at the plate to lead off top of the 10th.
One hopper to Burleson at shortstop. Guns in order.
And how about the job Drago did for you? Bob, you mentioned he got the Reds 1-2-3 in the 9th. 3 Hall of Famers, 1-2-3 in the 9th, and gave up only 1 run this entire postseason.
Yeah, Dragon was our closer. We didn't, that's loose interpretation of the word, because, by committee most of the time, but he was our guy. He threw hard, good fastball, a little bit of slider, and was not afraid. He was not afraid to challenge anybody.
You know, what's kind of lost in the shuffle in this game is first Moret, then Drago, then Wise after Tiant departed. They all held the Reds in check to set the stage for Fisk. So the base hit up the middle by Concepcion, and here's Geronimo, who homered to finish Tiant in the 8th.
I don't know how many times we've seen it as players. The home team doesn't score in the bottom of the 9th when they should. Usually the visiting team comes up and they put runs on the board right away.
You got a sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, Denny?
Yes, yes. We had it where we wanted it. Everything worked together, and then it changed.
Well, it's hard. I don't care where you are. I mean, you build yourself up so quick. You're going to win. You're going to win. This is impossible to lose with the bases loaded in the 9th inning.
So here's Concepcion stealing second base and in scoring position.
Well, I mean, we stole over 200 bases, and you know that's what made it us. And it's a lot easier to run if you keep your helmet from running underneath you. But Davey could run, Cesar could run, Griffey was as good as it got, and Joe only ran when he needed to as a rule, and when he did, he was successful.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Gets a piece of it, fouls it back.
So with Geronimo at the plate, the pitcher's spot is next. So unless Geronimo comes through with a hit, Sparky's going to have to pull McEnany for a pinch hitter.
Captain Hook, and I mean, he was really now walking on, eggshells, because he's down to, we got 2 pitchers in the bullpen, and one of them's really not available to throw.
Full count now to Geronimo.
Yeah, I think our pitching staff didn't get enough credit in this series because they held their big guys down pretty well, considering who they were.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, watching Dick, I don't remember him, enough in all those games. But I mean, he's throwing some really quality pitches, and of course he's fresh. The bullpen's giving him a chance to do it, and now I guess Johnson's going to talk, and you sort of have an idea what he's going to do as far as who's going to be the pinch hitter.
Yeah, well, you've got Dreesen. You had a nice bench, Johnny.
Well, how would you like to have Dreesen as your DH? You wanted to keep bringing up that DH. Well, the next year, Dreesen became the DH, and I mean, he could hit.
The 1-1 pitch. In the air, behind third, Burleson, Petrocelli, and Carbo one hang in fair territory to retire the side.
And I have to mention that Drago was really the bulldog that they talked about earlier. He was a guy that had no fear and came in and had movement and knew what he was doing. And he was kind of the unsung bullpen guy.
Denny, thanks very much. And when we come back, Dwight Evans will be with us, at least on tape, on one of the most improbable catches in World Series history. This is MLB's 20 greatest games, and this one is number 1.
What can you tell me about Shell nitrogen-enriched gasoline?
They clean up gunk left by lower quality gasoline.
Then they act as a protective barrier that shields and protects engines against performance-robbing gunk.
You really are experts.
Well, I basically started noticing my hair loss a couple years ago, so I started using Rogaine foam.
Only Rogaine foam is shown to regrow hair in 85% of guys.
It just brought about a lot of confidence.
Try new unscented Rogaine foam. Learn more at Rogaine.com.
Dry hopping? I don't know, but that sounds kind of fun.
I have no idea.
Dry hopping is really an additional step that we take to make Boston Lager.
Dry hopping is aging the beer on a bed of fresh hops.
After the beer has been fermented and it sits on hops for a full 3 weeks, adds a really nice citrus, piney, floral notes without adding any bitterness.
Boston Lager. You can taste the hops. It has a very distinctive taste.
It goes down smooth, but it also has flavor.
Sam Adams Boston Lager. It's delicious.
I look all tough and uncaring, but when I see an RV roll in with a big family, well, it fills my heart. But as affordable as it is, it just makes sense to get everybody out and go on a vacation together. Well, I didn't mean all of us.
It's surprising just how affordable an RV vacation could be. See for yourself at GoRVing.com and get a free video or visit an RV dealer. Go affordably, go RVing.
At TireRack.com, we stock an incredible number of tires, nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. All this at a price that won't slow you down. And that's 1 in a million, or in most cases, 4 in a million. The biggest selection of tires. One more way Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Got it. Don't be the last to know. Get it faster with 4G. It's the network of possibilities. AT&T.
I went up to bat and I looked back at Carlton Fisk. I said, man, isn't this the most exciting game you ever played in?
This is the greatest game I've ever played in. This may be the greatest game in the history of the game. This is the greatest game, you know, and I'm just glad to, you know, just yakking and going on.
I was telling the truth. I was having fun. I mean, win, lose, or draw, man, I was happy to play in this game. I mean, let me tell you something, man. I played 3,500 games, and that's the most exciting game I ever played in.
Not much dispute about that anymore. Pat Darcy is going to enter the game as we go to the bottom of the 10th, so he enters Studio 42 to join us. And just by way of background, you're a 25-year-old rookie in 1975. You go 11-5, ERA of 3.38. Most of that, though, as a starting pitcher. You started 22 games.
Right. I became the fourth starter when Don Gullah got hurt.
Tell us about Sparky and your relationship with him.
We had a pretty good relationship. You know, he didn't like pitchers being that cocky, and I got in trouble a few times with him on the mound playing against the Cubs, and I thought I was throwing the ball pretty good, and I guess I wasn't. So he came out to the mound. You weren't supposed to talk to him when he came out unless he asked you a question. So before he raised his hand to the bullpen, I said, "No, Sparky, I feel good." He just looked at me and said, "You'll feel better in the shower." You know, I was just walking back to the dugout thinking, that was a great comeback. You know, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was thinking, what a great comeback he had there.
Okay, to the bottom of the 10th we go.
And off the glove, Darcy.
And he was running way inside the baseline, too. First time I saw that play was last year when it was on the Major League Baseball net. I hadn't seen that before.
Well, why didn't you hit him?
You had thought about someday making a great defensive play in the World Series. Is that true?
After I made that play, when I was a kid growing up, I was watching the World Series game in a crucial situation. A pitcher made a really good play, and I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, could I make that play in that situation? So I'm walking back. I'm walking back to the mound. All of a sudden, I thought about that. It came to my mind. I thought, you can. I just did it. And so I went back to the mound. We threw the ball around the infield, and I get ready to face the next hitter, and Morgan's running in. And he says, he just runs in real fast, says, "You just made a great play in the World Series," ran back to the position.
Now Burleson follows by popping out, and here's Carbo, who tied it in the 8th. He could win it in the bottom of the 10th. What are you telling Darcy out there?
He's still going to throw the sinker. I mean, Bernie liked to extend his arm, ball out over the plate. But, I mean, we were in a situation where Pat had to be the guy. He had to be the man in that situation. Already he's come back against Evans, and now he's got Burleson. I mean, there's the fastball again, and he's late and swinging through it. So, I mean, it's just a matter of one pitch at one time, and Pat did a heck of a job.
All right, here we go now. Top of the 11th, and Pete Rose is up.
Rick Sonny Wise.
It hit him. It hit him. And Fisk is going to argue.
They're going to argue. They did that a lot in Boston. These guys argue.
You know, umpires, you know, and Fisk, they had to get along.
Fisk, I know it. Fisk love is really, Carlton loved to be confrontational. He always doing it. Oh, it hit him.
He was right on top the play.
Although we couldn't see it on the replay.
you know, it looked like a Johnny, if it hit him, how come he doesn't run immediately to first base?
Well, he just wants to confirm it.
Okay. Like he did.
All right, so here's Griffey.
Outside. Good fastball.
Is he butting on his own here, or is he getting a sign?
No, he's getting a sign.
High. Ball 2.
I mean, he's so good. I mean, he did so many things, wouldn't he? I mean, if he needed a bunt, and he could drop one down. He got the extra base hit. He took the extra bases, stole bases.
Bunted in front of the plate. Fisk is going to go to second. The throw is in time. Fine throw by Carlton Fisk. Head first sliding into second. A lot of people have talked.
See, now, they would have been out there arguing right here. Let's see how quick this is. This really is a good play. In front of the plate was wet, and of course, we'd had a lot of rain. But here's the situation. Well, they might have got him. Now, if you'd have done that in Cincinnati, we'd have been already playing for the World Series.
All right, so that puts Griffey at first base and Morgan at the plate. And we're about to see a play that's not only fantastic, but actually kind of improbable, which we'll explain in just a bit.
Strike is called on the outside corner. A good fastball by Drago.
You heard that pop up here.
Tell you, he throws hard. He throws hard. And he challenges you. Well hit, right field, deep. Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made! What a catch by Dwight Evans, and it's a double play.
Greatest ever. I mean, he'll never get credit for it. Dewey always said that, and you could probably confirm that balls hit that way always went to the corner.
Right.
And that's where he started off, and then had to adjust. And I swear the ball caught him.
Well, Carl and I used to call that Death Valley. You have to hit bombs to get him out there, especially at nighttime. And Dewey was a very agile big man. Everybody knows about his arm, but he could seriously catch the ball. I mean, this is just a fantastic play.
Yeah, from our dugout, it looked like a home run because it's a sunken dugout, and I thought it was gone. You know, it probably would hit the wall, but still, we would have scored a run.
And you had been thinking all that time you were going to be the winning pitcher?
That's right. I was thinking that.
Two quick things about that play before we hear from Dwight Evans himself. Burleson goes over and covers very alertly from shortstop. He covers because the throw wasn't nearly as good as the catch. Yaz had to go into foul ground to grab it. But what was Griffey thinking? He just took off. He was almost at third base.
The ball was over his head. The ball was, I mean, hit so hard. And he just committed. There was one thing he was going to do. He was going to score on an extra base hit.
Not a mistake.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. The only person I don't know if there was a person in the ballpark thought that ball would be caught.
I had a great view of it because I'm going to back him up. I knew it was going to make it out. It was not going to be a home run, but I didn't know if he had time because it wasn't a high floating ball. It was more of a line drive, and it got over his head. But Dewey's 6'4",
yeah,
you know, and he's got a big wingspan, and he had that one last step, and he snagged it. And I could see that. I didn't know if he was going to catch it or not, but I knew it was going to be a home run.
Well, let's let him explain it. We spoke with him just this past week.
What was really strange about that whole play for me is a guy like Morgan, when he hits the ball and he pulls the ball, it's going to draw towards the line. So my natural instincts are to turn to my left and go towards the line a little bit because the ball is going to carry to my left. And you see this, I am moving to my left. Now I've got to go back. And as I go back, I kind of jump up and I jump back because the ball is actually staying straight. It never hooked towards the line. I lost it. Now I've got to rear back. I've got to rear back and catch the ball. The ball was getting behind me. You can see it. I kind of go back. And even though it looks like my head's on it, the bill of my cap is stopping me from seeing the ball. Anybody at home, if they've ever played catch, throw a ball behind your head and catch it like that. And that's what happened to me. I lost the ball from up here, from right here to here. And it landed in my glove, and no one was more surprised than me.
In the bottom of the 11th, Pat Darcy sets down the Sox in order once again. And so we move to the top of the 12th. Rick Wise, normally a starter for the Red Sox, makes his first relief appearance of the year and faces Johnny Bench.
Popped up to the right side. Fisk going after it, and Pudge makes the catch.
The wing kind of pushed that one back toward the playing field. Pudge was at the screen and had to come back.
Tony Perez has a single and 5 trips to the plate.
Tom, we've said it repeatedly. The things you forget. The Reds are about to threaten in the top of the inning.
Bouncing ball, and that's into center field, a base hit. So Tony Perez has his second hit of the game.
Well, I think, Fred, you said it well in terms of the job the Red Sox bullpen did in this game. I think it's overlooked. And looking back on this game, and you see not always clean innings, but certainly making pitches when they needed to be made.
Yeah, our pen, and now, you know, you got Rick Wise in there, who's a starter by trade. I don't know how loose he was getting in there. You know, he doesn't do this. So I was concerned because this is not his forte.
Little bloop hit, so that puts 2 men on. Both managers have played this correctly, though. They've got Darcy, who had been a starter, and Wise, who had been nothing but a starter. So if this game goes 18 innings, they can stick with these guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, as a player, John probably thinks along that way. I wouldn't be. You know, I'm just seeing a starter coming in a relieving role and going, geez, can he do this?
Just got to give some arms more time to warm up, and that was the original thought we started with this game, with starting with Gary Nolan.
Here's Evans and Wright.
He makes the catch. The runners went halfway, and they go back to their respective bases, 2 down.
Geronimo's the hitter, had a homer earlier.
He
2 on, 2 out.
I was on duck circle. He comes over, so I'm going to win this for you right now. But didn't happen for the next night.
I think that's the moment. I mean, that's the thing that you live with. Is what you believe what you can do.
Well, it is an interesting at bat because if he happens to get on somehow, a walk, an infield hit, you know, maybe he goes, I'm sure he would go to a pinch hitter, and maybe Kirby has to come into the game.
You
were going to hit.
They told me.
He broke.
You're the man. You're the guy. I thought he was a good hitter. That's the thing to say.
Well, I mean, here he is out in the bullpen with him for 7 days. He didn't even know his arms broke. I don't know where you were. Welcome to the bullpen. You fit right in.
I wasn't used to the bullpen. They're crazy guys down there.
Oh, yeah.
In there, call strike 3, right down the pipe, and Wise strikes out Geronimo. There were 2 hits. The Reds leave 2. We go to the bottom of the 12th of a 6-6 game.
So, Pat, what must you be thinking? I know Geronimo promised you he'd win the game. He didn't. Right. But you were almost in a situation, bases loaded.
He was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was fun. I've been great.
But he makes the out, and now you've got to go back out there. Yeah. All of a sudden, now I got to get 6 more outs.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're the last pitcher because Don Gullett is the Game 7 starter, and under no circumstances, though the Sox don't know it, under no circumstances is Clay Kirby going to be in this game.
I didn't know it either. So I didn't realize that.
No, I had talked to Sparky about it, and he said he can't use him.
All right, we have reached the moment of truth. Coming up, will it stay fair? We know the answer, but we pose the question anyway.
Everybody loves that new car smell, but nobody likes what happens to the value of that new car when they drive it off the lot. Well, now at Hyundai, that's one thing you won't have to worry about. Introducing the Hyundai Assurance Trade-in Value Guarantee. Buy a new Hyundai, and before you even sign the paperwork, you'll know exactly what you'll get for it on your next Hyundai. 3, even 4 years from now. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed?
Guaranteed.
You've got a job to do. You don't have time to waste searching for the right tool. Cobalt invented SpeedFit, so the tools you need will always be right at hand. Take this socket and hammer set. With just one click, you've got a hammer, sockets, and screwdrivers all in one place.
I can just grab it out of the drawer.
You never know when you're going to need a tool.
You have what you need right there in your hand.
This handle is the key to SpeedFit's innovation. Its hardened steel core is attached to a one-click hex connector and wrapped with an ergonomic comfort grip, giving you a compact hammer with 12-point sockets and a screwdriver with specially hardened driver bits, which can also be used in your drill.
Always have the tools you need when you need them. Buy your SpeedFit socket and hammer set today. You'll get the ratchet, screwdriver, and hammer heads, along with 10 driver bits, extender, and sockets. And the driver adapter even works with your drill. When you call, ask about SpeedFit's 57-piece set with T-handle. Call now and get more done with SpeedFit, exclusively at Lowe's.
At 21st Century Insurance, we think shopping around is smart. Take these 2 cars. One is covered by them, the other by 21st. So they're both protected from those pesky shopping carts. Same coverage, means same repairs, but smart shoppers who switch to 21st save $492 a year. Call 800-665-5024. 21st Century Insurance. Same great coverage for less.
Sometimes a man must venture out from the shallow end to find something truly worthy of his search. Inspired by 300 years of tradition, Kettle One. Gentlemen, this is vodka. Drink responsibly.
I'm Chris Rose.
I'm Kev Millar, and join us on Intentional Talk.
Weekdays on MLB Network. Bottom of the 12th inning. We had a 10-inning game in the third series contest, and now we have a 12-inning contest. And it'll be Fisk, Lynn, and Petrocelli against Pat Darcy, who has been very impressive in 2 innings. He has set down 6 Red Sox hitters.
Okay. Fisk is coming up.
Third inning pitching, I was pumped up, still pumped up, ready to go, and I'm trying to throw. I don't want to. The thing is, don't walk him. Do not walk anybody. And that was my mentality right there. Just get the ball over the plate, challenge him.
Before we get to Darcy versus Fisk, here's what Carlton was thinking as he walked to the plate.
I'm on the on-deck circle with Fred Lynn, and I said, Freddie, I don't know, but I feel something good here. I'm going to hit one off the wall, drive me in. And he said, well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me, but he forgot the part about me hitting him in. But yeah, we did discuss that, and Pudge is a low ball hitter. And we've been watching Darcy throw sinkers. So, maybe he just was watching and he said, this is my kind of guy.
Here we go.
6 runs, 14 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. 6 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for Boston. And Fisk will lead it off, has a single and has walked twice. Has been on base 3 times. Actually was safe on a force play. Been retired once tonight on a bouncing ball to short in the 7th. Here's Fisk. And the wind blowing out. We've had 3 homers tonight, all to right field or center field. Carbo's was to dead center. The other 2 to right. There's a ball. There it goes, a long drive. If it stays fair, home run. We will have a 7th game in this 1975 World Series. Carlton Fisk becomes the first player in the series to hit one over the wall into the net.
All right, Freddie, you had a good view on deck.
I was sneaking ever closer to the plate because I wanted to see the movement of Pat's ball. And when he hit it, you'll see me come into the frame right about here. There's a nice vertical. I knew it had home run distance. I didn't know if it was going to stay fair, but it got out so quickly, it just hooked right around the pole.
Neither did Carlton know if it was going to stay fair. What did you think, Johnny?
I didn't see it drifting a whole lot. He really, the pitch was out over the plate, and he never got the top hand released. What's really interesting is when I've read about this, and this particular shot where they got the home plate shot was because of the camera in left field and the rat, because the guy couldn't switch and follow the
We'll get to that in a second. Pat, your thoughts? You just got to pray it goes foul, right?
Yeah, it was real high. It's kind of hung up in the air because the wind was blowing it to, the fair territory, and I thought it's going to go foul. And then it clipped the foul pole. I never realized that Foster caught the ball. And he ended up, he sold the ball about 20 years later. And at the time I said, how did you convince somebody that that was a ball? Then I realized from watching this right now that he hit the foul pole and he caught it. So he did have it. That was the real ball. They ever bought it. They got the real one.
Bounced back on the field. What Johnny was referring to, Lou Gerard was the cameraman in left. Harry Coyle, the director, and the whole production team at NBC, very innovative. And they stationed him out there partly to get shots back toward the batter, but also he could get shots of plays in the middle of the diamond. That was the general idea. The style book at NBC said, stick with the flight of the ball if it's hit, and then we can come back. Well, there was a rat. I mean, if you've ever been inside the Green Monster, they've cleaned it up a little bit in recent years, but there's all kinds of trash there. There's an old cigarette butt, the Tris speaker left. I don't know. It's just a god-awful place. And there's a rat running up and down between left center and left field. And Lou Gerard is looking at the rat out of the corner of his eye, and maybe he feels like if he wheels around to the middle of the diamond, it'll alert the rat, and the rat will react. So he just stays, right? And what he gets, he could never have anticipated. He's on Fisk for the swing, and he just stays, and he gets gold. And Fisk is going like this. Now, if it happened today, as soon as he rounds the bases, you automatically go to that shot. They didn't even know they had it. And Chet Simmons, who was an NBC director, executive, is in the back of the truck. And he looks up at one of the secondary monitors. He says, look at that. Look at that. And they realized what they had. And they went to it, and there it was. And not only was it a great shot in that moment, but it changed the way sports events were directed thereafter.
No doubt. I mean, we're so used to it now where the camera doesn't always follow the ball, but gets the reaction of the antagonist and the protagonist. And in this case, it happened by accident. But it was groundbreaking at the time as one of the most iconic images in all of sports.
What does it feel like walking off as the losers before we get to the winners in this game?
I don't know. I went in our clubhouse, you know, it was really interesting because of the leadership of the guys, you know, like John on the team. Everybody was just talking about what a great game it was. You know, here they'd lost 70-72, and they were on the road, and Boston's got all the momentum there, and here we are in the clubhouse, and what a great game. And people, hey, you did a good job. But just, you know, Rose saying, you know, and John ever saying, this is the best game we've ever seen.
There were so many, I mean, as we've talked about for all this period of time, there were so many wonderful segments of the game. I mean, we should have won it, they should have won it, we should have won it, they should have won it. We should have won it, and we should have won it. And then, we lost. And, well, we had Game 7. I mean, that was the thing. It wasn't the end of the world. Losses sometimes are, you know, killers and everything else. And they may have been in the middle of a season, would have taken all the air out of you, and you would have blamed a lot of people. All this was the fact that we had to regroup and go ahead out. Let's just go home, get our rest, and we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll win this thing.
It was euphoric, obviously, in the clubhouse. But now all that allows us to do is play Game 7. So we have to regroup as well. They're regrouping, we're moving our emotion aside, at least I was, and said, okay, let's go to Game 7. Yeah, we have some momentum on our side, but we've seen during the course of this series, momentum doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. And so we felt good about it. I felt personally good about it. I'd never lost a championship game at any level that I'd ever played in. So I felt really good about our position, and I like Bill Lee. Billy was tough on these guys. They don't like that kind of stuff. I thought we had a really good chance.
Did you know, even the immediate aftermath of a walk-off loss, that you were involved in something that wasn't just a great game, but that it was something historic?
No, I think it gets so great over all of the years because that's what is credited with helping save baseball because of labor problems and every disputes and stuff. But the fact that, you know, everybody still was pulling for the Red Sox to win their first World Series. Everybody still wanted the Big Red Machine, which was considered at that time so great, but yet unable to prove it. We lost 2 World Series. We lose again. I mean, we're the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's just something that goes with it.
Here's Fisk on the field with Tony Kubek right after the homer.
It probably had to be one of the best played, not only World Series game, but the best played game that has been seen in a long time. We were down 6-3, and of course Bernie Carbo picked us up. Had a great effort from everybody on our pitching staff. I just happened to get a ball. I didn't know what was going to be fair or foul. I knew if it was fair, it was out of here.
Well, Pat, you're forever connected with Carlton, obviously. Did you ever get a chance to talk to him about the moment?
We've met a few times now, you know, different card shows, things like that. So we've talked a little bit about it.
And he recruits him to come out to Tucson and help him run for mayor.
Yeah, so you're considering a run for mayor of Tucson. I think if there's any transplanted New Englanders living in Arizona, they'll vote for you.
They'll vote for you.
He's got my vote.
I mean, we'll move them over.
We did win, though. You know,
we're not talking about that on this show.
The Red Sox won that World Series 3-4.
That's right.
Pat, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
We'll come back to wrap things up with Johnny and Fred. Game number 1 after this.
Who is the greatest left fielder of all time?
Going, it is gone.
Which of these batting champs, Gold Glovers, and MVPs is the best to ever take left field?
You can just change the course of the game.
Prime 9, coming up next, only on MLB Network.
Have a better day. Only Subway has a deal this flat-out delicious. The new $3 flatbread breakfast combo. A toasty 6-inch flatbread breakfast sandwich. And a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee. All for just $3. Build your better breakfast today.
We are.
Got it. Don't be the last to know. Get it faster with 4G. It's the network of possibilities. AT&T.
Bro, where's your car? It's okay. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, hey, Jake.
My car got jacked.
I got it.
Ladies, guess you're walking. You got those figures for me yet?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there with an intern. Nice work.
Casual Wednesdays.
Oh, what?
State Farm agents are there when you need them.
You can't fight with the IRS. We know that. They said that I owed $84,000. My accountant made the offer for over $2,500 and the IRS rejected it. But when J.K. Harris submitted an offer, it was for $400 and they accepted it. And my niece, $92,000. And she settled for $500. Between the two of us, what more proof would anybody need?
Call now for your free tax consultation. Call 800-630-7027.
Do you have ugly scratches on your car or truck? Then you need Quicks High Performance Paint Scratch Remover. Most so-called scratch removers only cover up scratches temporarily, but Quicks permanently removes scratches, scuffs, and scrapes from all paint surfaces, guaranteed. In fact, America's leading consumer testing magazine rated Quicks #1. Part of our complete line of German-engineered, German-produced car care products. Quicks Paint Scratch Remover is available at these fine retailers nationwide. So stop in and pick some up today.
We will have a 7th game in this 1975 World Series.
I told Sparky after the game, man, Sparky's, he's down there, he's all worried. And he said, but Sparky, don't worry about it, man. I said, did you see how they reacted to that home run? We got him right where we want him. Don't worry about it. He said, you guys are the big red machine. You never won nothing. I said, just relax. Take it easy. Just go get in a good night's sleep, come back tomorrow. And we went and got a good night's sleep, come back tomorrow and won the World Series.
And Game 7 was memorable in its own right, although it'll never match up with Game 6. Bill Lee versus Don Gullett, pair of left-handers. Red Sox up 3-0. Tony Perez hits a 2-run homer off a Lee changeup to draw the Reds close. A Rose hit ties it. A Morgan hit in the 9th wins it. They prevail 4-3. They win the World Series. But when it comes to this game, the #1 game, how often do you hear about it still?
I hear about it quite often now. And to be honest with you, I didn't know the ramifications of that game and that series till later in my career. Again, I was a rookie. These are all new experiences for me. And I was taking it for granted that we would be back again. Turned out this was my first and only World Series. And so now I really look back on it fondly. I think we did some really good things, both teams. We put baseball back on the map. And in the forefront with the NBC productions and all the things that happened there. It was just a great experience, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
And for you, Johnny, we have to remind people, you did win the World Series. But this particular game, how often does it come back into your thoughts or other people bring up to you?
Well, a million times. I mean, everywhere I go, I speak a lot, and people ask me about the 6th game and everything else. But more than that, the fact that the 7th game took us to where we were, I mean, I love it because everybody seems to be a Red Sox fan, so I love to say, and we beat the Red Sox in '75, and they start mumbling and everything else. But that was the greatest moment. I've been the MVP twice and a Rookie of the Year. But when I walked into the clubhouse after the 7th game, there's nothing else I've ever experienced that really meant what the whole game meant. And I'm sorry Fred never had or Ron Santo or Ernie Banks or anybody that didn't win a world championship. Because when you went in there, 25 players were the world champion. the coaches, the trainers, the equipment men, the sponsors. There's really nothing like it. And that's what the worst part of that whole 6th game was the fear that we wouldn't win the 7th game. Yeah, you're confident you will, but here you will let a game get away already. And we've lost 2. And I mean, I heard about those 2 World Series we lost as well. So now I'm going to hear about this game. But if we don't win it, really, it's really going to be devastating.
And the next year, you just blow through everybody, you sweep the Yankees in the World Series, and now that Big Red Machine team of the 70s is regarded as one of the greatest teams in the history of baseball. But if you don't get the World Series back-to-back, your historical standing might be unfair or illogical, but your historical standing isn't the same.
It really wouldn't have. And the 6th game, absolutely. But, we were the Big Red Machine. We were supposed to win games like that, and it would mean nothing if we didn't win the 7th game. But to think that everybody, across this country, and as you said, it was supposed to be a day game at one point on the weekend. Now it's a night game. It's gone into 12:30, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and still nobody's gone to bed. I mean, everybody in America saw that game, and all of a sudden baseball was great again.
Boy, this has been great. You guys for game number 1, but we've been lucky enough to sit opposite a whole long list of players and managers who took part in the 20 greatest games of the last 50 years. And you and I follow baseball pretty closely, but we learned a lot.
What a ride. A lot of fun, but very informative as well.
Yeah, it really has been. Thank you, Tom. You've been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Johnny. That's game number 1 on the countdown. I think we'd all agree. Truly.
We're number 1. We're number 1. That's all you ever wanted to do in a World Series was drive down Main Street saying, we're number 1. You had your cigars, you were smoking, and you had all the stuff and everything else. Thanks, Major League Baseball.
There it goes, the long drive. If it stays fair, home run.
Just to be a part of that game was something that is very, very special.
The first thing that came to my mind was make sure you touch all the bases.
It's just the greatest moment there is in baseball.
Mark Redmond was saying, let's make him famous. Let's make him famous.
I went right to the clubhouse, and like a 12-year-old little leaguer, I buried my face in the towel and bawled my eyes out.
I remember feeling so heavy inside.
From the mound to that dugout, it was the longest walk of my life.
Our opportunity as a franchise to get into the World Series was shut that night.
Would I have liked it, things to change differently in the 6th game? Obviously. But it didn't.
It was a draining time, but it was so satisfying.
The most fun-filled, most exciting game I've ever played in.
I actually started thinking, oh, this could be like famous. This could be a game that people are going to remember.
One thing I remember is telling myself to look around and take all this in.
I played 3,500 games, and that's the most exciting game I ever played in.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Severino with your Barbasol Studio Update. We start with news of yet another setback for former Cy Young winner Brandon Webb. The Rangers righty has been shut down due to shoulder inflammation and won't resume his rehab assignment for at least a week. Webb gave up 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings of Double-A action earlier this week. He hasn't pitched in the major leagues since opening day of 2009. Speaking of rehab assignments, the Giants' Pablo Sandoval will begin his on Friday at Single-A San Jose. Sandoval recovering from a broken bone in his right wrist and could rejoin the Giants as early as next weekend. Here's a look at what's coming up today on MLB Network. It starts at 3 o'clock with the Rundown with Matt Yaloff and Hazel May in Cleveland. Then it's Intentional Talk. MLB Tonight starts at 6, and then Cubs-Cardinals comes your way at 8 p.m. Eastern. Matt Vasgersian and Tom Verducci are in St. Louis. We'll see you next time.
The road is tough, your spirit's strong, driving one and on. Close shave America, close shave Barbasol. America, you're looking good, handsome, free and tall. Close shave America, close shave Barbasol.
Welcome to Prime 9, the countdown show that covers the very best in baseball. Guaranteed to start arguments, not end. This week, it's the 9 greatest left fielders. Why 9? That's baseball. 9 players, 9 innings, prime 9.
One-handed grab, he made the catch! And another big play by the left fielder.
To qualify for this show, a player had to have had a minimum of 900 games in left field, and to have done so in the modern era since 1901.
He's made a gold glove play out there.
And while defense carries extra weight, when you're picking the best right and center fielders, the men who made this list got there primarily because they could hit. Quite often for power.
Bonds hits one to left center field. It is there, number 700.
That said, there are some to consider who are best remembered for both their bats and their legs.
The greatest of all time. Thank you.
Many of the game's top left fielders are true icons of the game, Hall of Famers. But did they make our list? Let's find out, starting with number 9 on Prime 9.
His nickname was Rock.
Here's the Rock.
Because he's built like a rock. I'm sure when he first broke in, he had been a second baseman. We kidded him after the first month. He got that nickname after his glove because he had a little bit of trouble at second base. That's when he became a left fielder, by the way.
Look at the play by Rock. Boy, Tim Raines been throwing some leather.
And once Tim settled into left field, his career took off.
It'll be a straight steal for Raines.
Tim started his career with 27 straight steals and set an NL rookie record with 71.
And he's in there.
But this was just the first of 6 consecutive seasons in which Raines would swipe at least 70 bases.
Every day I wake up in the paper to see how Tim Raines did, you know, and want to be like him.
Not only was he a menace on the base paths, he also wreaked havoc on those he faced at the plate.
I had no success against him.
Just here, Roscoe now facing Raines.
Those kind of guys are just tough. You did everything you could to keep them off the bases because they would mess with your head.
High drive into deep left field. Would you believe a grand slam for Tim Raines?
He had power, he had speed, he could hit for average.
Tim hit .320 or better 3 straight years for the Expos and won a batting title in '86 with a .334 average.
Put him at the top of the batting order. And what you did is you disrupted the game.
And there he goes, he got a quick ball. Wyatt throws into left field, and Raines is on his way to third.
That disruption creates runs.
Raines, the possible only run of the game, is 90 feet away.
He just did everything that, you know, a lot of left fielders didn't do back then.
Rock also stepped up his game in the postseason, like in the '93 LCS when he hit .444 for the White Sox and reached base 14 times in 6 games.
When people talk about outfielders and guys that can play, as you said, they mentioned Tim Raines. There was a reason for it. He was that good.
Unlike Raines, who enjoyed a 23-year career in the major leagues, our next left fielder played less than half that, but it was all he needed to make a memorable and lasting impact.
In only 10 years in the majors, he had over 360 home runs and was elected to the Hall of Fame.
Is Ralph Kiner.
Ralph Kiner was a big, strong fella. Joined the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1946, first year after World War II concluded.
Before the war, Ralph had never played above AA, but quickly showed why he belonged in the bigs.
Ralph Kiner is a good distance hitter with a record to be proud of early in his career.
I was very fortunate to be able to lead the league with 23 home runs. Then after that, my second year in baseball, I ended up with 51 home runs.
And thus began an unprecedented and still unmatched streak.
Led the National League in home runs not only that year, but in each of his first 7 seasons. Remarkable accomplishment.
It's another home run for Ralph Kiner.
Kiner's 7-year stretch of dominance is one of the great peaks in baseball history. That kind of 7-year performance is hard to find.
And the reason Ralph steered toward home runs made perfect sense.
The home run hitters drive Cadillacs and singles hitters drive Fords. Most ball players were making very little money. The ones that made some money were the home run hitters.
Kiner swings and sends a towering belt deep to left field. It's going, it is gone.
Fortunately for me, I bought a Cadillac.
With 369 home runs and more than 1,000 RBIs, Kiner stands amongst the most celebrated power hitters in baseball. We can only wonder what those numbers would have been had a bad back not forced him from the game.
If Kiner had been able to sustain even a normal decline, you could have seen him approaching 500 home runs. You could see him ranked maybe as one of the top 5 left fielders ever.
Are you a baseball addict?
Do you watch every game?
Analyze every play?
And ignore the rest of the world from April till October?
We do too.
The biggest fans of the game are right here.
MLB Tonight at 6 Eastern.
Well, I know one thing about marketing. The more logos you put in one place, the better.
Having something unique is better.
Check it out.
The Shell nitrogen-enriched cleaning system acts as a barrier to help protect against performance-robbing gunk. He's good.
Well, I basically started noticing my hair loss a couple years ago, so I started using Rogaine foam.
Only Rogaine foam is shown to regrow hair in 85% of guys.
It just brought about a lot of confidence.
Try new unscented Rogaine foam. Learn more at Rogaine.com.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the modern era's greatest left fielders. We've stated our case for both 9 and 8, which means it's time for number 7. If you don't know him, take your hat off to Al Simmons, a dynamic force in left for one of the most storied dynasties in baseball history.
Al Simmons was a great hitter on one of the greatest teams in baseball, the Philadelphia Athletics of 1929, 30, 31.
The batting lineup contained great sluggers: Bing Miller, Mickey Cochran, Al Simmons.
His Philadelphia Athletics beat out the Ruth and Gehrig Yankees for 3 straight American League pennants. In those 3 World Series, in each series, Simmons batted 300 or better with at least 2 home runs. And the only other player in baseball history to have 3 consecutive World Series like that is Babe Ruth.
4 times in his career, Al hit over 380, and twice he eclipsed 390. And he was doing this in the company of some of baseball's all-time best.
This is a guy who led the league in batting average a couple of times. He led the league in total bases. Mind you, this is in a league with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. It wasn't that easy to lead the league in statistical categories.
Left to right, Gehrig, Cronin, Fox, and Simmons.
So when you've got Al Simmons, you're talking about one of the best players in a hitter's era.
Al Simmons was the type hitter that could hit to any field, right field, left field, center field.
He had power to all fields. He was able to rack up 60 or 70 extra base hits a year.
Just think how hard it is to drive in 100 runs in a season. Al Simmons in 1930 drove in 101 runs just in his home games. And then in 1932, he did it again. He's the only player in baseball history who in 2 different seasons had 100 RBIs just in home games.
Simmons was a complete hitter. He was one of the best outfielders of the 20s. All of these things make him one of the top 9 left fielders ever.
I have always said the best all-around player that I played against was Carl Yastrzemski.
Yaz was a one-man wrecking crew. He did everything you expect of a superstar player.
He hit well for average. He won a couple of batting titles, and he was always a great left fielder.
His mastery of balls hit toward him was matched by his conquest of the Green Monster.
Yaz made left field an art form. No one had ever done that.
Playing left field in Fenway is very, very tough. You know, the ball coming off that wall, timing it.
A great catch by Yastrzemski.
Well, I think Yastrzemski was the best of anyone I've ever seen at learning how to play the left field wall.
And that'll be off the wall. Yastrzemski barehands it and holds Bando to a single.
He made one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. In Yankee Stadium in '67, Tom Tresh hit a shot that looked like it was way over Yaz's head. He kept going and going.
Well hit. Yastrzemski going back.
And dove facing the fence and caught the ball.
One-handed grab. He made the catch.
What a catch that was.
He just loved to play defense, and of course we know what he could do at bat.
Hitting-wise, I mean, you could not pitch to him. You couldn't walk him even.
Nice stop by Carew. No play. A run scores. It's 2-1.
When they needed someone to come through with a base hit or something, Yaz was a man.
He was a good hitter, but then of course he decided to take his play to another level, and in '67 he erupted as a really strong power hitter.
It was in '67 when Yaz had a season for the ages.
Dick Williams has called it the greatest season he's ever seen a player have from start to finish.
He had a year like I have never watched any player have.
I'll never forget, Yaz says, boys, get on base, because I'm going to take you home.
Base hit to center. Lonborg scores.
He rose to the occasion, time after time.
He goes for 3.
The 67 was the year that really brought Yaz to the forefront. Of course, he won the Triple Crown.
Deep to right field, number 44.
He's the last Triple Crown winner, and I've never watched a player do as much for one club.
Well, an icon in Boston, there's no question about it. And, of course, we all know a great Hall of Famer and put up great numbers.
Yaz, to me, is one of the greatest all-time left fielders that the game has seen.
Goodyear, driven by those who use the world as their proving ground. And everything we've learned making these tires inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
1, 2, 3, hit it. Watch me! Watch me! I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got soul. I'm super bad.
It's your fuel, before, during, and after. Get out what you put in. Gatorade.
I'll take these. Love those jeans. $175.
Cha-ching.
Excuse me?
Ever consider showing your customers what other stores charge for jeans?
No.
When it comes to car insurance, Progressive Direct does. I saved hundreds when switching.
That's a lot.
The jeans are skinny. The savings are fat.
Out there with a better way. Now that's Progressive.
Is the IRS stalking you? Do you feel like you're at the end of your rope?
Hello, I'm John Harris, president of J.K. Harris & Company. Over the past decade, our ex-IRS agents and tax professionals have successfully negotiated settlements for our clients, saving them millions of dollars. They know how to make the system work for you.
Call now for a free face-to-face local appointment and J.K. Harris's free IRS tax secrets. Call 800-450-1064. 800-450-1064.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the greatest left fielders in the last 2 centuries. Tim Rock Raines and Ralph Kiner got us started, followed by Al Simmons and Carl Yastrzemski, which means it's time for number 5.
I love watching Manny. I think he's one of the best hitters that's ever lived. What strikes me is his demeanor at the plate, how he can just focus and relax. It looks like he's just playing in his backyard with his kids or something. You're in the middle of a stadium filled with 50,000 people, and yet he looks so relaxed and so calm.
He's just got the greatest bat in the world. You think you can throw him away, and he slaps the ball the other way.
Number 500 for Manny Ramirez.
Pitch him inside, you can spin on it. Those are tough guys to pitch to. He's the kind of guy that can just ignite a team.
Something he does best in October.
Manny Ramirez lost it into the seats.
Of all the players in the modern era, there are very few that have been to as many postseasons as had Manny.
I took this to another level.
A whole new level, for his 29 postseason home runs are the most in baseball history.
You always had the feeling if the best relief pitcher is in for that team.
Here comes Frankie Rodriguez.
If anybody could hit that guy, it would be Manny Ramirez.
3-run walk-off home run.
Watching him break in with the Indians, you could tell he was going to be a good hitter. I don't think anybody knew that he was going to be as great a hitter as he is today.
And despite his carefree demeanor, some might say peculiar.
Come on, Manny, here we go. Hey, here we go.
It's no accident he's one of the best right-handed hitters of any era.
He's very deceiving because he's one of the hardest workers that you will ever see.
The Manny Ramirez show today.
7 rounds of BP today.
He was always in the batting cage. He was always working on being a better hitter.
The end result has been 12 seasons with at least 30 home runs and 100 RBIs.
It didn't seem to matter whether he was in Cleveland or Boston or Los Angeles. You could almost guarantee that Manny was going to deliver 30 to 35 homers, hit 300, and knock in 120 runs.
Manny drives one deep and far to left center, up by the light towers, and gone.
He had so many big hits, and he was so difficult to pitch to. He was the most devastating right-handed hitter I've seen, and he did it year in and year out.
Leading off, number 24, Ricky Henderson.
Let me first say that he's the best leadoff hitter of all times, without a doubt.
And thanks to his power, defense, and speed, the fourth best left fielder.
He goes again. He's in there.
He was made to play baseball. He really was. He had all the tools. Just an incredible physical specimen that used his talent to the max.
And that produced one of the game's most amazing big league portfolios, with a record 81 leadoff home runs. The most runs scored.
There goes a new all-time run-scoring record by Ricky Henderson.
And then there's his career stolen base record.
All-time Major League stolen base leader.
Not to mention his single-season mark of 130.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show.
He was a perfect storm of speed, intelligence, strategy. He just was a step ahead of pitchers all the time.
I'm looking at pitching. I'm trying to outthink him, thinking about, is he going to throw a breaking ball, where he's going to throw the pitch, and who's at the plate, and what is the count on the batter.
Once you give Henderson that little edge, that's all he needs. He doesn't need an edge.
I think a lot of players, steal a base and then they get caught. They get the fear to run again. You got to take the fear out.
A fearless man, Ricky channeled that fear to the other team.
Nobody disrupted defense that the opposition team had to contend with to be that much of a force offensively. He could just change the course of the game.
And he did so with his bat, his glove, and his legs.
People always try to categorize him as being the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. I think Ricky was one of the greatest players, period, of all time.
Ricky Henderson was just amazing. And I don't think that we'll ever know how great this guy was unless we ask Ricky Henderson.
Today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Are you catching me?
No, I'm Stan the Man.
There are generations of fans who never got to see just how good Stan Musial was.
We've sort of lost an image of Stan Musial. Musial became more of kind of a funny old guy who would show up and play the harmonica on Old Timers Day or at Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. But that should not obscure what a great hitter Musial was.
And there it goes. A home run over the right field screen. Musial's teammates gather at the plate to greet the hero.
Some young player said, "Stan, how come you're happy all the time?" And he said, "Kid, if you knew you were going to hit 340, you'd be happy too."
Stan actually hit over 340 7 times in his career.
Musial smashes a home run into the seats in left center.
That led to a .331 career average, including 7 batting titles.
Musial's distinctive batting style, the body twisted into a coiled-up position, was a menacing sight to any pitcher.
I first came to this stance when I came to the big leagues.
He stood back in the box and he lunged into the ball.
With his unorthodox stance, Musial hits to all fields.
If you pitch him outside, he'd hit laser beams to right field, and if you pitched him in, he'd hit laser beams to left field.
Right side on is into left field. Hit number 3,000. Musial ran first on his way to second with a double.
Musial wound up with over 3,600 hits and was regarded pretty well as the preeminent hitter in the National League during most of his years.
Stan may not be first on our talent-rich list of left fielders, but that in no way detracts from his impact on the game.
You look at Stan Musial, you say, okay, maybe he's only the 3rd best left fielder in history, but he's still one of the 10 to 12 best players in history.
Stan was just a great hitter, a great ball player. From the first day he ever stepped on the field to the last day he left the game.
He was a
It's about focus.
He's done it again!
On the field and in the studio, you need to be prepared.
And no one's more prepared than the analysts on MLB Tonight.
5, 4, 3, game over!
Tonight at 6 Eastern on MLB Network.
There's no point in writing a remarkable story if you don't know how to end it properly. Get home safe. Kettle One. Gentlemen, this is vodka. Drink responsibly.
Call your agent. My agent? Yeah. You were driving. You know, it's cool. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, hey, guys.
Oof, what's up, Tony? You see what he made me do, right?
It's okay, I got it.
That was him. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there with the world's smallest violin. Because this is what I hear when you talk. Can I get a binky for baby Brown? Here you go. That's it. Michael Buffer.
Let's get ready to rumble!
State Farm agents are there when you need them.
Prime 9 is now on DVD. A countdown of baseball's best all-time home runs. Unbreakable feats. Off-the-chart hitters. Nastiest pitchers. 9 of the very best episodes guaranteed to start arguments, not end them. From the Fall Classic to classic catches, baseball's prime-time performances are pulsating in the new Prime 9 DVD. Get primed at MLB.com.
Well, I know one thing about marketing. The more logos you put in one place, the better.
Having something unique is better.
Check it out.
The Shell nitrogen-enriched cleaning system acts as a barrier to help protect against performance-robbing gunk.
He's good.
Got it.
Don't be the last to know. Get it faster with 4G. It's the network of possibilities. AT&T.
On Saturday Night Baseball, the Rally Monkey gets ready as Curtis Granderson and the Yanks come to Anaheim to battle Torrey Hunter and the Angels. Yankees, Angels, Saturday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on MLB Network. Presented by Chrysler.
We now return to Prime 9, where this week we're featuring the 9 greatest left fielders. Keep in mind that they had to have played since 1901, and they also must have played at least 900 games in left. So now it's time for number 1 and 2, the best left fielders in the last 100 and some years. We begin with number 2.
I've never seen anybody that could do wherever they wanted to do, whenever they wanted to do it on the baseball field. If you want to get a hit, you got to hit. If you want to make a great catch, you got a great catch. If you need a home run, hit a home run.
Bonds, game tie. He has hit more home runs than anyone who has ever played the game.
Everybody thinks of Barry Bonds as the home run hitter, but he was arguably the best defender in the game.
Bonds coming in. He makes the catch.
Judgment and jumps on the balls was phenomenal. He was a center fielder playing left field.
He was as good an all-around player as you were going to see in the history of the game. He was the best player in our era.
Bonds was undoubtedly a man of many talents. But the reigning single-season home run champion is best remembered for his uncanny ability at the plate.
He knew what was coming almost all the time. He rarely got fooled, and he recognized fear, just like that dog recognizes fear from that postman.
Nobody wanted to pitch to him, and if you dared make one pitch, even near the strike zone, he seemed to hurt you every single time.
This guy might go 2 or 3 at-bats without even seeing a pitch, and then he'd get that one pitch and Bonds
has hit number 70.
There were times he was asleep. We had to wake him up, say, hey, man, we got game time. First pitch, he saw he hit a home run, no batting practice, no nothing. And that's why I was like, man, how does this guy do this?
The MVP of your team or the MVP of the league is somebody like that when the chips are down, he's going to come through for his club.
Barry's elite status earned him a record number of MVP awards, including an unprecedented 4 in a row.
Barry Bonds changed the game.
But no left fielder has been more splendid than Ted Williams, a 2-time Triple Crown winner who made quite a bang right from the start of his Hall of Fame career.
In his rookie year, he set a freshman RBI record, which still stands. He knocked in 145 runs in his first season.
1939, he had 31 homers and 145 RBIs, hit 327, and became the focal point of Boston baseball immediately.
Teddy Ballgame went on to win the most ever batting titles as a left fielder, and no one in the history of the game has a better career on base percentage than Ted.
He was a great hitter, but they scoff at him. Well, he couldn't field. None of that is true. He was a very good fielder. Bobby Dorr, his friend, says, well, he was so long-legged that you'd think he was loafing, but he was actually it's hard to beat him.
Of course, Ted, a big 6'3" lanky guy, when he went after the ball, he didn't look like he was really hustling like a little guy chasing. Ted taking those big lopes going after him.
He was so quick. He was strong. He was big and had great eyesight. No one ever had the coordination that he had.
So he was an all-round athlete. He was not the one-dimensional player that we think of because of that emphasis early in his career on I want to be the greatest hitter.
The lanky Red Sox rookie with the awesome swing told people flatly that he intended to become the greatest hitter in baseball history.
Ted was not bashful, so he came up, he was ready. He knew he could do it.
Oh, I think I'm going to do all right. They throw in where I'm swinging, and I'll be swinging. Might mean the old bogey.
He had a world of confidence, and it was well placed.
Considered by many to be the greatest hitter who ever lived, Ted's confidence never wavered. Not even on the final day of the 41 season.
He hit a steady 400 throughout most of the, until he came down to that famous last day of the season, when he was hitting an even 400. And they were playing a doubleheader against the Philadelphia Athletics. And Joe Cronin, the Red Sox manager, said, Ted, you've got it.
Joe Cronin did say, Ted, you can sit this out and be a 400 hitter.
I think if I were 10, I would sit out today.
And knowing Ted, there's no way he was going to do that.
Joe Cronin came to me and he said, Ted, you don't even have to play today. He said, officially, you're 400. I said, hell no, Joe, I want to play.
In any event, Williams was in the lineup, and Williams came out hitting, went 6 for 8 on the final day of the season, finished at 406. Nobody has hit 400 since.
You think about how hard it is to hit 300 in this game, and then you bump it up to 400 and realize it hasn't been done since 1941.
Any 400 season is remarkable. It's the way he finally did it. There's something marvelously heroic about it.
When you think about it, the splendid splinter kicked off the single greatest left field lineage in the history of baseball. From Williams to Yaz to Jim Rice to Manning. The Red Sox have had 3 left fielders in the last 70 years whom we have rated as the very best. It obviously takes a very special man to master a monster. Well, that's our Prime 9. What's yours?
Yes, sir, the Jesters are back with a Friday celebration. We look to deliver a one-of-a-kind performance. You are not alone in this endeavor. You've got a fantasy friend in us.
Hi, I'm Corey Schwartz, and as hot as Mike Morse and Matt Joyce have been over the last 2 weeks with 8 homers and 23 RBIs, Jay Bruce has 7 homers and 20 RBIs all by himself.
I'm Mike Ciano, and I've been looking all over the waiver wire for this Larry Bernandez guy in Seattle. Little help?
We'll travel around the country to uncover the offensive superstars. And with a weekend for relaxation, we'll do the challenging work and help you plan the rest of your week. Like a fist of knowledge to the face. It's the 411. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a Friday MLB.com Fantasy 411, getting the weekend started in style right here on the show alongside Corey Schwartz and Mike Stylinciano.
Styles, like
I am JB, the Julie McCoy of this love boat. Let's set sail. Let's begin under the arch in St. Louis, where there was plenty of blues for the pitching staffs of the Cards and the Giants because the offenses went bonkers. 21 hits, 19 runs scored during that game. We'll focus on 2 of the successful hitters from the game, but only one who dominated enough to be the Roto Monster.
And Huff hits a high fly ball right center field. At the wall, out of here.
And this one is well hit. That one's gone. And it is gone. And Aubrey Huff has hit his 3rd home run of the game.
You heard that correctly. 3 home runs for Aubrey Huff. He may not play outfield well, but he was hitting pretty good last night.
Yeah, 6 3-homer game this season like you see, but first of Aubrey Huff's career. So how about that? Came into June with only 4 homers total in 53 games.
Wow.
Now has 4 homers in the month of June already, and it's only June 3rd. Do the math.
60 in June he's on pace for. On the other side of things, the Cardinals had the young fella, Colby Rasmus, not monster-worthy, minion-worthy, had a good day.
Well, he also had 6 RBIs. What's the difference? Of course, he only did it with a grand slam and a triple, but there's a difference between these 2 guys. Colby Rasmus is only 24 years old. He's in the growth phase of his career. So far this year, career high walk rate. He's making excellent contact, way up from last year, and he's doing much better against lefties than against righties. His OPS is about 30 points higher. The downside is he's hitting a lot more ground balls and really not showing the same amount of power, at least before last night. So at the age of 24, you look at the pros and you call this a consolidation season. He's still growing as a player, so he might not match up to the expectations that people have for him, unlike Huff, who's kind of a finished product, but he's still improving, and you could see that breakout come someday.
Nice to see.
Yeah, that's a good point about Huff being a finished product. You kind of have his trends, and one trend he had, especially last year, was in June and July. That's when he heated up. Those were his 2 best months power-wise. So if he's going to repeat what he did last year and historically what he does in the summer, now's the time to maybe look on the wire, pick him up, put him, if qualifies at first base and outfield. So you get him a corner, first, 5th outfielder, utility. He has a lot of value, especially in the next couple months.
And if he stays warm, there you go. That's from under the arch. Big news on the offensive side of things. Big showdown between the NL West and the NL Central leaders. Let's show some love, though, to the NL East, where the East-leading Phillies will finally put together the lineup they hope to roll out every single day. That's kind of crazy. The Phillies finally at full strength, Mike.
Yeah, and Victorino is back. They sent down John Mayberry. That's why you see the Dominic Brown-Francisco platoon here at the bottom of the order. And listen, if you have a pitcher and you're looking to sit him or you're looking to play pitcher ditch, now you have the American League type lineup that the Phillies can put out there for the first time in 2011. So the righties will see some Dominic Brown at the bottom. The lefties will get a little dose of Ben Francisco, and we'll see how long that lasts if he can stay up there as well. But now I think Charlie Manuel finally has a team he wants on the field with Utley at the top, with Victorino back, Rollins. And we'll see if the whole thing with Rollins and Victorino swapping 1 and 7, rears its head again, and we'll just, take it as it comes. But otherwise, this is a scary lineup again. Everybody wins except the pitchers going against the Phillies.
Those are the 2 sides of that story.
And John Mayberry.
And John Mayberry. That might be the real one. So if he's on your roster, he shouldn't be any longer. Continuing our trip around the country, let's head up to Minnesota, where the Twins, bear with me, currently 15 and a half games behind the Indians. Wow. That news actually gets worse. 2 players now DL banned. Jim Thome and Kubel out. Ouch, 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 ouch for the Twins, Corey.
Yeah, this is the anti-Phillies lineup. Take a look at this one. Only San Diego has scored fewer runs in all of baseball. Only San Diego and Seattle have a lower team OPS, and now you take out 2 of the Twins' best hitters. Their home run leaders now, Mike Kadire and Danny Valencia with 5 each. That's why you see them anchoring the middle of the lineup. So you say, all right, they'll run a little bit more. They brought up Ben Revere. He was hitting 300 with 8 steals at AAA. Alexei Casilla leads the team with 5 steals and barely even gets on base. Denard Span, their leadoff hitter, has only 4. So you talk about the Phillies now being a scary matchup pretty much for any pitcher. This is pitch or ditch heaven. If you see the Twins coming in and you've got even a league average starter, you've got to attack this offense. And you know what? They're going to score 4, 5, 6 runs once in a while because everybody does. But this is a weak offense that just got weaker. This is what pitch or ditch is all about.
Unbelievable what the Twins have become in 2011. It's a tough spot for them where they are. Big mountain to climb. We got a big mountain to climb on the rest of this show, though. Lots of value there in that first segment, I don't mind saying. Now we turn to players who may be worthy of your investment. Buy, sell, or hold them on the other side.
Wow.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Do people use smartphones to do dumb things?
Send. That is the weekend.
Will allow me to crack the bubbly.
Don't mind if I do.
Is a gentleman with a bro stash invited to this party?
Only if he's ready to rock.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
When it came to redesigning the Hyundai Accent, we didn't hold back on our best thinking. So we included everything we've learned about performance, safety, efficiency, style, technology, and everything else that makes the Accent. Hey, can you give me a minute here? I'm trying to talk. The 2012 Accent. Guys.
Professionals need to perform under pressure. And pressure can cause anyone's deodorant to fail. Introducing Gillette Odor Shield Antiperspirant. Unlike regular deodorants, it targets and neutralizes odor at the source. Help eliminate odor. Don't just cover it up. Gillette Odor Shield Antiperspirant. Also try Odor Shield technology in new body wash.
Okay, so has anybody actually started saving for college yet?
Oh, not me. No, you got time.
Oh, no, we actually started.
You have?
Really? Mm-hmm.
Sure. We figure you start saving a little now, or you'll borrow a lot later on.
Yeah, but how did you even know where to start?
Oh, I found out about the Gerber Life College Plan.
Call now for free information on the Gerber Life College Plan. It's easy.
It's pretty much worry-free.
Well, how could it be worry-free? What if something happens with the stock market?
No matter what happens, we get guaranteed safe growth.
Mm-hmm. So when she's ready for college, the money will be there.
And it doesn't take a lot of money to get started.
For as little as $10 a week, you can start saving for college and get guaranteed growth. Just call now.
Oh, it's a life insurance policy, too.
Oh, that's different.
And if she decides not to go to college, there's no penalty, so she can use the money for anything.
We've got to get started.
Yes, we do, because you're going to college.
Call 1-800-315-6648 for your free information. That's 1-800-315-6648.
Welcome back to the 411 with the draft on the horizon. You might want to check in with MLB.com/prospect watch. That is where you can also see for your fantasy teams who the young players are that you might want to get on your rosters ahead of time. Oh, Hosmer, you might have only cost $3 at one point. Remember when your favorite player did that thing and then he did it again? Well, several players produced some back-to-back magic recently. Will they do it again, though? Always the question that matters right here at the show. So let's get to it. Buy, sell, or hold on Matt Laporta. Corey.
3 for 5 with a homer against Toronto on Wednesday, and here's your encore, homer against the Rangers on Thursday. And that's what he is right now, is a low average power hitter. Career high fly ball rate right now, the power is coming, and the walk and contact rates are similar to last year. So the batting average 255, it wouldn't shock me if he hit 255 at the end of the year and ended up with around 25 home runs. So if you're able to value that properly, this is a guy who is capable of contributing all season long, but just don't look for help in batting.
All right, but you want to buy those power numbers if you can. Justin Smoke. Mike, what do you say?
Very similar to what Corey just said about Laporta, but the one thing is I'm still going to say hold because the runs are so low and the fact he doesn't steal and the average problems. In April, he had 4 homers, hit 284. In May, hit 4 homers, hit 229. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, which is around 250. I think he'll do 25-90 when all is said and done, which definitely has value. But at the same time, can you really sell on him high because he doesn't steal and he's not going to score any runs and the average is weak? So I'm going to say hold.
He's going to sit right there at a hold. And finally, a new Pirate, Xavier Paul.
He came off the bench, had 2 hits and 2 RBIs on Wednesday, and then had a huge game against the Mets yesterday. 4 hits, 2 steals, 3 runs. I mean, unbelievable performance. But with all that, he hasn't started back-to-back games since the first week of May. He started 4 straight games, and 3 of those were 2-hit games. This was a career 291 hitter in the minors, and with Garrett Jones really scuffling, I'd like to see the Pirates give this guy a chance to play a little bit more. He can do some things.
So if he does, he might move up to a buy, but right now he's a hold because PT is the ultimate stat we don't know about with him. Laporta is the buy on the list. Smoke is your hold. That is how you should spend some investment energy. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We try to do that. We try to be simple and straightforward with answers to your questions. When we can be. I'd say simple in this room. It's a very loaded statement. Let's see what else we can do with the viewer inbox and how we can help you out. I need a starting pitcher and was offered Matt Cain for Asdrubal Cabrera. Thoughts?
Oh, it's a fair value deal. I generally don't like trading for non-ace starting pitchers, and I don't think Kane is an ace, but he's a very solid 2-3 guy, and as good a season as Asdrubal Cabrera is having, some could argue he's playing a little bit above his skis right now, that he might not be able to keep up the pace, especially in the power category. So even though what he's doing stats-wise warrants an ace, there's a little bit of uncertainty with him, and that's why I think Kane is a fair value return. So it's a good fair value fantasy baseball trade.
Hey, every once in a while those do happen. Nice to see them when they do. Let's see what else is in the viewer inbox. See if this is as fair. I was offered B.J. Upton and J.P. Arancibia, so he wants initials for Jacoby Ellsbury. Helping catcher would be nice. I'd like to buy a value and know what you think, Mike.
Yeah, Warren Dog, first of all, I don't mean to be harsh, but this is not a smart trade. You said it yourself. You need a catcher. Why do you need to trade Jacoby Ellsbury to get J.P. Arancibia? Oh, I get it. You get B.J. Upton back. B.J. Upton is not Jacoby Ellsbury. What you need to do is, first of all, not make this trade. Number one, Jacoby Ellsbury right now is a first-round player. At worst, I think, is a second-round player next year, okay? So that's his value. And you need to find another player on your roster that you have depth at and make a one-for-one for J.P. Arancibia, because you're not giving a catcher back. So you obviously don't need to give a catcher to get J.P. Arancibia. So why do you have to trade Jacoby Ellsbury? One of the biggest mistakes I see in fantasy baseball is these kinds of trades. You try to address one area by trading a great player that doesn't even play that position. So no way.
Don't do it. The 2-for-1 there is not honestly a 2-for-1.
And I say this all with love.
Yeah, we're looking out for you here. It might sound like harsh.
For the
children. Take care of it. Tough love.
Future.
What else we got in the viewer inbox? How can we help out? Should I drop any of the following for Lowry? Barney, Pierre, Rios.
Well, it really depends on the format and how quickly you think Brett Lowry will be brought up. It could be as soon as tonight, in which case you're going to want to jump all over him and get him in your roster. But if you're in a non-keeper league, if you're in a shallower league, you can probably afford to wait. If I had to drop one of those guys, it really looks like a toss-up. I don't think Darwin Barney can keep doing this all year long, but Alex Rios has been terrible all year long, and when you take out that huge month of May last year, he was a pretty ordinary player. Juan Pierre, meanwhile, that you drafted him strictly for speed, has been caught stealing more than he's been successful.
Ooh.
So how's he helping you? Brent Lillibridge is stealing at bats from Pierre and Rios. This is a long way of saying that when Lowry gets brought up, I'd take him over any of these guys.
Right. And that's fine, but another thing, another strategy thing is we fall over ourselves for prospects. It happened with Belt. It happened with Trevor Plouffe. By the way, both of them are in the minors right now. So I'm not saying that Lowry's
Hosmer.
All right. Well, okay, Hosmer is an exception, but Belt was just as big as a prospect as Hosmer was when he got called up. And I know Lowry's projected to be a stud, but don't shoot yourself in the foot in a non-keeper if you don't have to. Think about who it is. It's not. This is fine. This situation is fine. Right. But more people are going to fall over themselves cutting guys who might be productive and everyday players to get the next big kid. And it's a non-keeper league, so just be very careful. That's
be careful. Be cautious every once in a while. Cautiously optimistic is also fine. I'm cautiously optimistic about the rest of this show. I'm more than cautiously optimistic. I'm optimistic. It's a weekend-a-rama on the way, which means you need to plan for 48 hours of relaxation. We'll do the hard work and plan the rest of the week.
Baseball has some of the most amazing stories ever told. And this Monday, new ones will begin.
Their paths to the major leagues begin right here.
The 2011 MLB First-Year Player Draft. Coverage begins Monday at 6 Eastern on MLB Network.
You're on the same flight.
We'll be on the same plane, regardless.
Yeah, when we need to work. Anything together? Do we know that?
Got it.
Thanks, Dave.
The big, brilliant, thin Samsung Infuse 4G. Only from the network of possibilities, AT&T.
Well, I know one thing about marketing. The more logos you put in one place, the better.
Having something unique is better.
Check it out.
The Shell nitrogen-enriched cleaning system acts as a barrier to help protect against performance-robbing gunk.
He's good.
DirecTV, you can start watching in one room, pause, and continue watching in any other room. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV.
0 calories, maximum Pepsi case.
Thome. T-H-O.
Cece, glad you made it. Ricky wins again.
Oh, what is this place?
Iowa. Only with maximum Pepsi taste and 0 calories.
Whoa.
I love it when he does that.
Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball.
Have a better day.
Only Subway has a deal this flat-out delicious. The new $3 flatbread breakfast combo. A toasty 6-inch flatbread breakfast sandwich. And a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee. All for just $3. Build your better breakfast today.
Welcome back to the 411. If you check out the internet, and you should, MLB.com/fantasy, a great source for information, hot players, cold players, and clips from maybe the best sports fantasy baseball show on any medium anywhere in this universe. Hey, you can plan, and then plan some more. That's the keys to success, so my pops taught me. 2 start pitchers give you an extra chance for that success, and also for the not so good. We'll do the heavy lifting right now, though, with our weekly planner. It starts with 2 starts out of Max Scherzer at Texas and versus the Mariners. What do we say about that skill set?
Yeah, tale of 2 matchups here. You have the great Texas lineup at home versus the terrible Seattle lineup that Corey referred to a couple of minutes ago. But the bottom line is, even though Max has kind of driven people a little crazy with a high whip, a high ERA in May, he's still a soft ace. So I'm trotting him out there. He's beaten good teams. He's also been worn out by good teams. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag with him against a good lineup. But you think, and I think it's fair to think, that he will dominate the Seattle team. Gets you a strikeout per inning, Corey. So I think you got to trot him out there, even though Texas is on the docket.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even though he's coming off back-to-back 7-run starts, you give him a little bit of a pass for that. One was against Boston, and they're red hot. And the other one against the Twins, he had only given up 4 runs through 6 innings, and then he ran out of gas in the 7th, and Jim Leland admitted he let him out there too long. The walk and strikeout rate's identical to last year, so he's not doing anything different. The big difference is the fly ball rate is way up. So you might see a couple more going over the fence in Texas, but as you said, Seattle is such a weak offense that that's going to balance out anything other than a disaster start. So let's say he goes 6 innings and gives up 4, even 5 runs against the Rangers. He can dominate Seattle, and you end up ahead for the week. So I definitely would go for it.
All right, so early on, looks like Max is a good 2-start guy. Let's see who else has 2 starts and whether or not we should trot him out there. Scott Baker is up at Cleveland and at home against those self-same Rangers.
Yeah, you know, this is a little bit scary for me. Baker's having a weird season. He's got a 3.86 ERA, but only 5 quality starts out of 11. Career-high strikeout rate, but also a career-high walk rate. So his strikeout to walk rate is lower than it's ever been. Now you match him up against 2 very good offenses, both of which can hit the home run, and he's a fly ball pitcher. I'd start him, but this is one where I might sort of start him and then maybe, go on a trip for a couple of days and then see what it looks like when I come back. He could give you 2 good outings because he's been consistently okay all year long, but with the fly ball tendencies, this could get ugly.
Yeah, well, I don't know why I should have to spend money and go on vacation because Scott Baker's pitching. So
avoid it.
I'm going to actually sit this one out. I think in a weekly, I want to sit this one out. In a day-to-day, maybe I pass on the first one, he's good, and then I put him out there at home against Texas. But the competition, he's been bad against bad teams, and he's been good against good teams. I just don't know what to expect from him. And like you mentioned, Texas is number 3 in Major League Baseball in homers, and Cleveland and Texas are top 5 offenses in the AL. This is a lot to handle. Yeah. I think I'm going to sit this one out.
And don't look for a lot of run support either.
That's true.
There you go. Big
good
trouble.
Point. We saw that lineup. Ugh.
Big trouble for Baker. Let's see who else has a 2-start matchup and whether they're good to go. It is Brian Matusz versus Oakland versus Tampa Bay. He gets some home time. We say, Mike.
Yeah, he had a very strong finish to the 2010 season. Got derailed a little bit at the beginning here, but now he's back, and he pitched well against Seattle. But you know what? He's got a high ceiling, and he's got 2 great matchups with Oakland and Tampa Bay, both at home. I like him better than Scott Baker, so I think he's a better pick here than Scott Baker. You don't love it, but I like it.
All right.
Yeah, I think the numbers we saw on screen are a little bit deceptive because Tampa started the season so slowly. They've been a lot better since then, so they're a tougher matchup, obviously, than Oakland. But let's not, sell short on Brian Matusz. As you said, he had a 2.25 ERA over the last 2 months of last season, pitching predominantly against the AL East. 3-1 strikeout to walk rate. Everybody was talking about Zach Britton this spring. Brian Matusz was that good last year and actually did it. So Tampa is a little bit tougher matchup than maybe we give them credit for as far as the numbers go. But I think Matusz, people shouldn't underrate him. He's a terrific pitcher, and I would start him for this.
Looks good for him. And finally, Mike Leake has 2 starts. They are against Chicago and at the Giants. Lots of double-digit numbers up there. What do you say, Corey?
Yeah, you know, this is another one like Scott Baker, an odd year. Leake has a 5.03 ERA, but you take out one bad seven-run outing against the Astros, he's been terrific. 6 out of 8 quality starts. I mean, that's what you associate with the top pitchers.
Yeah.
Strikeouts are up from last year. Walks are down. He's been a little unlucky with the strand rate, so the ERA should be about a run lower. And you look at these matchups, San Francisco and Chicago, both of them banged up. I'd go for it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. He's been a little bit better at home, and then he gets the weaker team on the road. So I think this kind of fits him well. In an NL only, I think this is a no doubt you trot him out there. In fact, I will be in my NL only league. In a mixed, it's about fit. If you could use the pitcher, you got the innings to play with, and you're feeling like you want to roll the dice a little bit, I don't think it's a bad bet. A little risky, but I don't think it's a bad bet.
All right, there you go. That is the 4. Let's real quick, top to bottom. Scherzer, Baker, Mattis, Leake. Confidence rating 1 through 4.
All right, 1 through 4, I give with 4 being the highest?
Sure.
Okay, I give Scherzer a 3 because he is a little bit home run prone, but I'm definitely starting him.
All right, and Baker?
Baker, I give it a 2. This one could go either way.
Mattis?
Mattis, 4. I love these matchups.
And Leake?
Let's say a 2.5, 2 1/4, maybe 2 1/3.
Yeah, I agree. If I had to rank them 1 through 4, I'll do it the other way.
All right, let's do it.
I'd go Scherzer, Mattis, Leake, Baker, but Leake, Baker, you can flip-flop.
All right, there you go. That is your weekly plan. It's done for you. Now just relax. Enjoy the rest of the week. Let's get to the viewer inbox, though, before we take a break. Make sure we get you specific questions in case these pitchers aren't on your roster. I've been offered Gabby Sanchez for Justin Morneau. Is this a good trade for me, or do you think Morneau will improve Corey?
Well, it's tough to tell because, you know, coming off the concussion from last year, he's been banged up this year with a lot of little owies. And the Twins lineup, we've talked about this a couple of times. He's not going to get any offensive support. Gabby Sanchez, age 27 season, improved contact, improved power. I've been touting him since the preview show. I'm not going to stop now. I'd take Sanchez.
There you go, Sanchez for you, Joey. What does the Funk need to know? Let's get that answer to him as fast as we can.
We want the Funk.
Who would you rather have over the rest of the season? Matt Garza or Jhoulys Chacín?
And just like Corey said about touting Gabby all season long, I was touting Matt Garza all season long. Why stop now? Was having a career year before the injury came up. Should be back any day now, and I think he's going to pick up right where he left off. I like Jhoulys Chacín, but I love Matt Garza.
Right.
I'd rather have Garza here.
All right, Garza is your choice. Funk, go ahead and select that. What else we got in the inbox? Who is the better long-term keeper, Jake Arrieta or Wade Davis? M. Walsh needs to know, Corey.
Well, Mr. Walsh, when you say long-term, I think the rest of the season, because when it comes to keepers, I just want to win now. So the guy who's going to give me the best chance of winning right now is Jake Arrieta. Strikeout rate is way up from last year. That's a great indicator. And you look at Wade Davis, the strikeout rate is way down, and he's been getting punished as a result. Yeah. So you can worry about 2012, 2013, all you want. I want to win now, and Arrieta gives me the best chance.
That's right. Our long-term
today, Mikey. Today.
Our long-term view gets us to November, roughly. That's how we think about it in fantasy baseball. Our short-term view is we're going to take a little bit of break, but when we come back, you know what? We've talked strategy about pitching thus far. Let's say we continue. We'll get more specific. Pitch or ditch.
Rundown.
The wait is over.
Bonus coverage of live games.
Huge day in the majors. Every team is in action.
Interviews with insiders.
Peter Gammons joins the show on the GAN Camp.
If it's happening live in baseball, it's happening on the Rundown. Coming up next.
There is a rhythm of the seasons, so we've developed styles of beer to accompany that. We brew Oktoberfest, Winter Lager, Noble Pils, and right now there's Summer Ale.
Samuel Adams Summer Ale is a flavorful wheat beer. It has a very nice spice note.
It has a little lemon zest and a historic brewing spice called Grains of Paradise.
It's citrusy.
Lemon. Flavorful, refreshing.
Wow. Sam Adams Summer Ale, it's just something about it. It's like totally reminds you of summer, you know?
Well, I basically started noticing my hair loss a couple years ago, so I started using Rogaine foam.
Only Rogaine foam is shown to regrow hair in 85% of guys.
It just brought about a lot of confidence.
Try new unscented Rogaine foam. Learn more at Rogaine.com.
Right now, get a free soft drink when you buy a Whopper, only at Burger King.
And so the conversation turned until the sun went down, and many fantasies were there.
tried one of these? This is so good.
Man, I can't believe we haven't done this before. Oh, wow, look at that.
Bite.
Oh, shit. You're aging. Do the jingle. Do the jingle. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, guys.
Do it again. Do it again. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. In my office.
State Farm.
I think we're good.
State Farm agents are there when you need them.
Well, I know one thing about marketing. The more logos you put in one place, the better.
Having something unique is better.
Check it out.
The Shell nitrogen-enriched cleaning system acts as a barrier to help protect against performance-robbing gunk. He's good.
The graphic tells you what time it is, and I will reiterate for emphasis. It is pitch or ditch. We look at daily leagues, waiver wires, where there might be pitchers that are really, really good or have great matchups. We pitch those. We ditch the pitchers that aren't going to win. It's very simple, and we enjoy it, and it rhymes. So it's awesome. It starts with Mike Ciano, it starts with pitch, and it starts with Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, working his way back to you, babe. He had an absolutely awful April, but he had a great May to bring those numbers down. Numbers still look a little risky, so you're like, I don't know. But you know what? Not great at home, but I'm riding this very hot hand. Check the wire. He may be available.
And what about Aaron Harangatang?
He got bombed in Colorado 4 starts ago. Since then, only 3 runs with a 16-5 strikeout to walk ratio. Gets Houston at home. Do it.
Wow. Do it now. And Kyle Loesch, quality start machine.
Absolutely. He's given up more than 4 runs only once all year. Now, you could say the hit and strand rates have been ultra lucky, the strikeout rate's mediocre. That's all true, but career high ground ball rate, career low walk rate, so we're going to stick with him against the Cubs.
That is not mediocre. And what about Dylan G?
Like Kyle Loesch, very lucky hit and strand rates, but excellent strikeout rate. 33 strikeouts in 42+ innings since joining the Mets rotation. 2.20 ERA in Citi Field, so tough matchup, but I'm going to keep rolling it.
All right, that's who we like. Here's who we don't. Starts with Ejax.
Yeah, no, he's been really rough to watch. And the last time he faced Detroit, 12 hits and 7 earned. He's in a 5 2/3. He's better than his numbers say, but I still don't trust him. I mean, I think he's pitching his way into a Yankee uniform, believe it or not.
Oh, trust is a potent thing. What do we say about Derek Holland?
He's slumping badly, just like Ejax. Too many terrible starts for him to have mixed league recognition. We know how dangerous the Cleveland Indians lineup is right now. I don't think you can trust him. I like him, but I don't think you can trust him in a mixed format.
You like him, you don't love him. What about Randy Wells, Corey?
Yeah, he only lasted 4 innings against the Pirates in his return from the DL. He had 7 strikeouts, which is nice, but walked 3 guys, so he's a little rusty. Now he's facing a Cardinals team that, believe it or not, leads the majors in runs, batting average, and on-base percentage.
All right, and finally, Charlie Martol.
You know, he's pitching well. He had his 4th straight quality start last time out against the Mets, but gave up 11 hits. And he's an extreme ground ball pitcher, so he's allowed only 2 runs, but a 37 to 29 strikeout to walk rate, that is not going to get it done. Ultra lucky strand rate. I'm not trusting that against the Phillies.
That doesn't look good, and it should be that first-time A-listers of the Philadelphia Phillies. You can read about our strategy and plenty more at the blogs, fantasy411.mlblogs.com. I told you, the internet, it's a great resource for fantasy baseball. This website, MLB.com, check it out. The fantasy clips are there, all the shows that you love, everything you want to be right there. Pitcher ditch chart updated on a regular basis right there at the fantasy site. For the tremendous crew, for Corey, for Mike, I'm JB. I want to thank you for being a fan of Fantasy 4-1, and I really want you to have a tremendous weekend.
When Cole Hamels takes the mound tonight in Pittsburgh, you're going to see something you haven't seen since last October. NL contenders, look out. This coming October, Heath Bell may be pitching in the playoffs and not pitching for the Padres. Our insider John Heyman tells us why and where Bell may end up. And a battle of first-place teams continues in Cleveland. Our Hazel May is on the ground. Hi, Hayes.
Hi, Matt. I'm here at Progressive Field, where this big series continues between the defending American League champions and the team who owns the best record in all of baseball. It's Friday, June 3rd. We're in Cleveland, and we're live on The Rundown.
It's the Friday edition of The Rundown. Hazel May's in Cleveland. We miss you here, Hazel. I'm Matt
missed you
Yaloff
too
in
here,
Studio
Matty.
3. We'll get back to you in a second. Seems the Yankees and Red Sox will be battling off the field very soon. John Heyman has that. Hazel, what do you have coming up?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm here at Progressive Field, and over the next 2 hours, Maddie, we're going to be visiting with members of the Rangers and the Indians as they get set for Game 2 of this 4-game series. Now, we are just seconds away. We're going to be joined by Cleveland closer Chris Perez, and I'm going to ask him why his nickname is Pure Rage. This I got to hear. In the meantime, you're going to tell us what's coming up around the majors on this Friday. Back to you, Matt.
All right, thanks a lot, Hazel. Here's a look at the scores and the matchups, really, for this Friday. It's a full boat, as it always is on a Friday. The Phillies are in Pittsburgh. The Dodgers are playing the Reds in Cincinnati. A live report coming up from Rick Monday. It's the Cubs and the Cardinals. Many of you will see that on MLB Network. The Astros are in San Diego. The Braves in New York. The Brewers in South Florida. The Nats are playing the Diamondbacks in Arizona. And it's the Rockies and the Giants. A good opportunity for Colorado to pick up ground in the West. The Rangers and the Indians get together. We'll be going back to Hazel many times in the next 2 hours. It's the A's and the Red Sox, Twins and Royals. That game also on MLB Network. The Rays and the Mariners get together in Seattle. It's the Blue Jays and Orioles, Tigers and White Sox, and Yankees against Jared Weaver in Anaheim. It's time now for today's first pitch on the first Friday in June. The gap between first and last in the AL West is just 4 games, and the Angels are at 500, just 2.5 games out. And tonight, Jared Weaver takes the ball against New York, looking for his first win since April. He's been good, but his run support has gone missing. The Yankees send Ivan Nova to the mound, hoping to extend their win streak to 5. They're 2 of the strongest and most dangerous power hitters in all of baseball. Prince Fielder and Mike Stanton flex their biceps tonight in Florida. Combined, they've hit 23 home runs this year. Both the Brewers and the Marlins are currently second-place teams, both 2 games back in their respective divisions. And in Cleveland, a couple of pitchers who could end up on the same All-Star team. They're going toe-to-toe. It's undefeated Alexi Ogando for the Rangers and Justin Masterson for Cleveland. The Indians take the field with the largest division lead in baseball and the best home record in the American League. With that, we go back to Hazel at Progressive Field. Hazel.
Maddie, thanks very much. As promised, I'm here joined by Cleveland closer Chris Perez. Chris, thanks for joining us here live on The Rundown. We are here on the road at Progressive Field. Thrilled that you could take time out to speak with us. Let's talk about last night. A tough loss for this Indians team. How important is it for you guys to bounce back, particularly against a tough team like the defending AL champs?
Yeah, it's important after any loss to try to bounce back, especially like a loss like last night. We took a nice 3-0 lead early and kind of let that slip away with some sloppy play, and at the end we fought hard, but at the end we still fell up short. So it's important to come out tonight and show them what we can do and try to get even with 2 more games left this weekend.
Chris, you're going to your first full season as the Cleveland closer. How is it different knowing that you've got the job day in and day out? Does that change your approach at all?
It's reassuring when you have a rough one. That they have that confidence in me to throw me back out there after a rough outing, and it's nice to have, especially so young in my career. And it's nice. It's nice. It gives me takes all the pressure off. I can go out there and just try to perform and get the outs, and not have to look over my shoulder when I struggle a little bit. Which luckily, it's few and far between so far.
You're part of a bullpen that hasn't struggled a whole lot. You guys have the second lowest ERA in the American League behind the Yankees. That's pretty darn good. Give us a sense of what this bullpen core is in 2011.
Well, we're made up of 4 or 5 guys that have been together now for, this is our 3rd season. Ever since I've pretty much gotten traded over here in the middle of 2009. It's been me, Joe Smith is our sidearm righty, Rafael Perez is our lefty, one of our lefties, Tony Sipp's the other. We've all been together since 2009. And it's really nice to have that kind of continuity, and we know each other really well, and we know our strengths and weaknesses. Then this year we have a rookie, Vinny Pistano, who got off to a great start, and he gained a lot of confidence early in April in some big situations, and he's just carried it over so far in May and into June. And then we added a veteran guy in Chad Durbin during spring training, who's got postseason experience with the Phillies this last couple of years, and he brings over that veteran leadership that we need down there. And add it all together, and we really feed off each other, and we get along great, and it's like a family within the family.
Speaking about family within a family, you've been a fan favorite of late. I understand there are T-shirts that say, "Let the Rage Begin," because your nickname, I'm told, is Pure Rage. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be sorry for asking you this question. Where did Pure Rage come from?
I think it came from an old teammate of mine, Chris Jimenez, who plays for the Seattle Mariners now. He's a catcher. we had a safe situation last July or August against the Yankees here at Progressive Field, and it was first and third. It was 1 out, and it was only a 1-run game, and I got a big strikeout and then a ground ball to end the game, and I was pretty pumped up. And after I got the last out, it was also when A-Rod was sitting on 600 home runs. He was at 599, and I got him out to end the game. So I was pretty pumped up about that, and I let off a big scream. And after the game, he got quoted as saying I had pure rage out there that night, and it just stuck from there. Some other guys picked it up, and it's kind of stuck.
All right, I got to get a T-shirt from you before I leave here in Cleveland. I understand you've got over 2,500 songs on your iPod, and every day you tweet a song of the day. Can you give us a little scoop on what today's song of the day is?
Today's song of the day was Fuel by Metallica. It's just one of those days. I haven't pitched in a while. It's been just one of those kind of stretches for us. Either we win by a lot or we've been losing more than we had been early on. So I got some built-up energy. I kind of want to get out there, and hopefully tonight's the night. And it's a good song. Kind of gets me going, when I'm in the weight room or doing a cardio exercise or something like that.
All right, there you go. You got it right here. Metallica is the song of the day here from closer Chris Perez. Thanks for joining us. It's been fun.
Thanks. You brought the nice weather out, too. It's beautiful today.
Nice guy and smart guy. Matt, back to you in Studio 3.
All right, enjoy it out there. We're staying in the great state of Ohio. We're going to Great American Ballpark right now, where Rick Monday joins us. Rick, good to have you on board with MLB Network. You're a broadcaster for the Dodgers and a 19-year Major League veteran. Tell us about this Dodgers pen. They need help. How close is help to coming back?
Well, Matt, it's nice to join you, but there are 5 big question marks for Don Mattingly and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Those 5 question marks are in the bullpen when you consider the fact there's no timetable now for Jonathan Broxton. He's on the disabled list. Hung-Chi Kuo is on the disabled list. There's no timetable for him. Vicente Padilla is eligible to come off the disabled list today, and he might very well be activated. The question is going to be, does Padilla get moved to the head of the line to come in and possibly close tonight here at Great American Ballpark against the Cincinnati Reds? A lot of problems in that bullpen, considering the fact they've had 6 different pitchers record a save in the 26 wins for this Dodger ball club so far, and 5 different rookies have made their Major League debut. On Monday, it's going to be the Major League Draft, the free agent draft that comes on. It's going to be televised. In 1965, the very first year of that draft, there was not a whole lot of fanfare. No, it was not televised. When we come back later on the hour, I'll talk about that first draft. I know a little bit about it, having been the first player ever drafted in Major League Baseball.
Rick Monday, we look forward to that story. I can't wait to get back to you a little bit later on. Dodgers and Reds at Great American Ballpark. We now head to New York in Citi Field, where Ed Coleman is standing by. Ed, what a 24 hours for this Mets team. The manager goes ape on his club, and then they come back with their second largest comeback in team history. What's the buzz with the Mets?
Well, listen, I've seen a lot of these momentous moments come and go in the first third of the season, Matt, so we'll find out whether it actually has some bearing on how they play from here on out. But no question, it was a huge lift. They did not play well for a couple of games, and in particular on Wednesday night, and Terry let them have it after the game. But in essence, it was about execution and getting it done. Listen, they've been hit over the head by a 2x4 with the amount of injuries they've had, and basically all Terry was saying was, hey, if you're up here, you're wearing a Major League uniform, if you're replacing somebody who's here, you belong in the major leagues. You can get it done. You just have to go out and, do the simple things and get it done defensively and offensively. And they did. They fell behind 7-0. I don't think Terry scripted it that way, nor did the players. But you know what? Maybe in the long run, it worked out better for them that way. They had nine unanswered and won the game 9-8.
Ed Coleman at Citi Field. Stick around. We want to get your take on trade rumors involving some of the team's big names. That's the Mets, of course, when we come back. Right now, we're going to join Paul Severino with a look at the news. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how are you, Matt?
I'm great.
Good to hear it. If you asked around the building, most of our analysts would probably say that the division with the best pitching is the American League West. Now, the Rangers would love to add a former Cy Young winner to the rotation, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Brandon Webb has been shut down again. He started his rehab assignment on Monday at AA Frisco, but he felt some discomfort in his shoulder during a bullpen session yesterday. He's been prescribed an anti-inflammatory and won't throw for 7 days. He last pitched in the majors on opening day in 2009. The Phillies activated Shane Victorino from the 15-day DL. He was batting .284 with 6 home runs and 19 RBIs before straining his hamstring on May 14th. Victorino drove in 4 runs in 2 games on a rehab assignment to make room on the roster. John Mayberry Jr. was optioned to AAA Lehigh Valley. The Tigers placed third baseman Brandon Inge on the 15-day DL with mononucleosis, batting just .211 this season with 1 home run and 12 RBIs. To replace Inge on the roster, catcher Omir Santos was recalled from AAA. He's played in 2 games at the big league level. That was earlier this season. Pablo Sandoval will begin his rehab assignment tonight at Class A San Diego. Giants manager Bruce Bochy said the plan is to give Kung Fu Panda at least 20 or 30 at-bats and then reevaluate him. On Sunday, he'll be moved to AAA, and that could be the final tune-up before he returns to the big club. According to the Star Tribune, Twins lefty Francisco Liriano, who's on the DL with shoulder inflammation, played catch on Thursday. He should throw a bullpen session in the next few days. After that, the team will be able to make a decision on whether or not he makes his next start on Tuesday. Well, that's going to do it from here. Matty, back over to you.
All right, Paul Severino, thank you. Still to come, the scoop on Heath Bell. It's what he wants that may land the closer with another team. Insider John Heyman fills in the blanks when the rundown continues live.
When it comes to things you care about, leave nothing to chance. Travelers, take the scary out of life.
Real meats and fresh cut veggies. That's what makes Papa John's specialty pizzas special.
And now try Papa John's newest specialty, our sausage sensation pizza with 3 kinds of sausage and fresh sliced peppers and onions.
Nobody does what Papa John's does.
For a limited time, get the new sausage sensation or the Tuscan 6 cheese pizza. Your choice, just $11 each for a large. Order at the new papajohns.com.
Everything's better when Papa's in the house. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Klondike presents 5 Seconds to Glory. Mark Fritz is listening to his wife.
I was over at Jim and Nancy's today. Do you remember them? We had dinner with them a couple weeks ago over at Jill's house.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Who's serving up a big breakfast this weekend?
On an endless buffet, a juicy steak.
Don't flip out.
Only Golden Corral would include steak for breakfast. It's on our endless weekend breakfast buffet, all for a great low price. Only at Golden Corral.
Humble beginnings are true beginnings. They are the purest way to gauge success. Maybe the only way to gauge success. But the most powerful thing about humble beginnings is that they are humbling. Show where you're going without forgetting where you're from.
Watch Cubs Cardinals Friday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on MLB Network.
This is Shake Weight for Men, and it's going to kick your butt.
That's it.
In just 6 minutes, guaranteed. Shake Weight's secret, the power of dynamic inertia. As you shake, the weights at each end fire and recoil rapidly, sending a shockwave of energy that contracts your muscles up to 240 times a minute. So you build definition, size, and strength fast. Biomechanics research proved that 6 minutes with the Shake Weight burns as much muscle energy as 42 with a standard dumbbell. Bottom line, you get ripped, defined, and stronger fast. Call now and get Shake Weight and this 6-minute upper body workout DVD for just $29.95. Shake Weight also comes with this ironclad kick butt guarantee. Do the workout just once. If you're not blown away, return it for a 100% refund.
That's it.
Think you can handle it? Call now and build muscle and definition in just 6 minutes a day with Shake Weight for Men.
Back on the rundown with a look at the team home run leaders in Major League Baseball. The Yankees are way out in front of every team in baseball. The Diamondbacks check in next with 65. Look at that differential between 1 and 2. And then there's a large grouping of the Rangers, Red Sox, and Reds. Team RBIs leaders, the Cardinals, the runs leaders rather, the Cardinals have the Yankees by 4 runs. It's the Cardinals with 287 runs scored. The Yankees, Reds, Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, and Red Sox round out the top 6.
And the Pirates now lead it 7-0.
If you didn't have bad luck, you wouldn't have any luck at all.
It's out of here. A 3-run bomb for Carlos Beltran.
Now it is a 7-5 ball game. Off of Dusty Brown, the tying run will score. Put it in the books.
It was one for the ages when the Mets came back from 7 runs down to beat the Pirates yesterday. And here's the headline in New York: rant and raves. Terry's tantrum inspires Mets' big comeback. That's the story today. But the story that's festered throughout the season is, what are the Mets going to do with 2 of their big stars, David Wright and Jose Reyes? Ed Coleman rejoins us from Citi Field as the Mets are playing tonight. And Ed, what is the deal? Are they going to move either or both of these guys?
Well, it could. I would imagine one could possibly move, Matt, but I think both guys would like to stay here if the Mets could do it, but probably financially they're not going to be able to do that. David Wright has a contract through 2013. Now, the option is not in existence if he does get traded, unless he agreed to an extension or reworked his deal. And Jose Reyes, obviously, is a free agent at the end of this year looking for a lot of money. If you ask both guys, they'd love to stay in New York, and I'm sure the fans would love that too. But financially and looking down the road and reshaping this team, I'm not sure that both of them will be here.
If Reyes does get moved, Ruben Tejada is making a name for himself. Is he the kind of guy who could replace Reyes, who leads the National League with 77 hits currently?
Well, I don't think anybody can replace Jose Reyes. He's that dynamic an individual and dynamic a player. He's really one of a kind, but Ruben Tejada would be the heir apparent. That's why they had him playing shortstop at AAA. He came up to play second base and has played second base. He filled in for Reyes when he was on bereavement leave at shortstop, but he's played both positions very, very well and had a couple of great at-bats in yesterday's game. He had a bases-loaded hit in the 6th inning. That's exactly the kind of situation that Terry Collins has been talking about, where a lot of his stars have not come through. But Tejada, who doesn't have that many at-bats under his major league belt, had a great at-bat in the 6th inning, then lifted a sacrifice fly for the winner in the following inning, so in the 8th inning. So he's done a great job. He's hitting .313 since coming back up, played a pretty flawless defense, both at second and short. He's a guy to watch, there's no question, but I don't know if anybody can fill Jose Reyes' shoes.
On the Braves side of things, we're going to see Jair Jurrjens tomorrow. He has very quietly become a star in this league. What can you tell us about Jurrjens and his rise?
Well, Jurrjens this year, I think, has, he's dropped his pitch count down. His first 4 starts, he was over 100 pitches, but he's dropped the pitch count down. He's thrown more strikes and I think been able to go deeper in games because of that. He's had 1 loss this year. It was a 2-1 game. He's simply been brilliant every time out. He's injury-free this year too, Matt, and I think that's a real load off his mind. But, he's the guy, when you look to that staff with all the other names they have, he's really the guy that stands out.
Ed Coleman at Citi Field. We'll check back with you a final time on injuries and when Ike Davis may be returning to the Mets lineup. Ed Coleman at Citi Field, we thank you. And now it's Paul Severino once again, joined by our insider, John Heyman. Hey, guys.
Absolutely right. Hello again, Matt. All right, well, let's start talking about the trade deadline because, hey, it's 2 months away.